Audio flamed.
It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the messenger, not to oppose, but by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque, then in the same church, in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness, by giving, will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the Earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of the president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but a star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 70th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace on Tuesday, March 12th, 2019. This is a presentation of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and is a public presentation in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be one of your hosts today. And as usual, we are joined with Carolina Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I think we'll be able to hear from her. I'm not sure if her connection is totally tuned. How you doing, Caroline?
Yes, I made it. I'm stable. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let's start with a nice cup of coffee or tea. I hope you have yours ready, Rick. You had enough time.
Yes, I do.
Good. So who wants to start today? Moshfaq, you had something ready for Kashmir? Some positive news, I hear?
Yes, we can talk a little bit about that. 2 weeks back, we had a little bit of look at that, and as the situation was a bit tense, but we did our part. And it seems that the situation has improved considerably, and there was 2 aircraft involved which were shut down, and the pilots were captured. And I think one of the pilots, I don't know about the other plane, but one of the pilots was returned back to India, and since then things have improved, and this was a good gesture on the part of the Prime Minister in Pakistan. And I hear some rumble, but in general things have cooled down, and it looks like we are heading the right way. So that's what I have heard, and from several sources, local and otherwise. And so it's good that everything worked out, and we have our part to play in that. So any comments, any update from anybody in this area?
Rick, maybe you can go back to the wish and you can read it again so we can confirm that the balance stays.
Okay, was that a recent one? Oh, there we go. Okay.
One. It should be at the towards the end somewhere. I think me and
Well,
Gatwa, there are 2 statements.
Yeah, there's Gatwa, and there's yours.
Oh, okay.
You want both of them or just yours there?
Yeah, both. Why not both?
Okay, let's get them both on the same page here. Okay, there we go. Shall I read it?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. It starts out from Gatwa. We give from our soul for a peaceful dialogue and a creation of everlasting peace between India, Pakistan, and China. I am present. Gatwa, February 26, 2019. We elevate the souls of leaders and others who are involved in the India, Pakistan, and China conflict so that brothers and sisters can live together in peace. Mashfaq, February 26, 2019. I am present. Okay. What would you like to do with that, Mashfaq?
I think it came true. So, and as Gatwa says so well, that it continues to be. We hope. I mean, we are sure that it will continue to be so. And so, so it worked. Now we also have another situation, which is the Venezuelan situation. About that, yeah, I know a little bit from the news and various sources, but if somebody who is close to that environment, Spanish speaking perhaps, and somebody can translate, I'm sure, and get sort of like a situation update, not so much focusing on the problem as such, but what is the situation, and then we come up with a wish similar to the ones we have here, and wish for the solution to that situation. So if anyone who knows, it doesn't have to be people in that region, but anybody who is aware of the situation, because news is not necessarily the best source of information about that, it would be great to hear from them, and then we proceed to the next step. Rick, I know you know about everything, so probably you know something about this.
Well, we do know that we can agree, I think, that the electricity is off there in Venezuela now, pretty much, let's say. And they're having big issues with that. And of course, each side is blaming the other side and so on, as they do in these conflicts. I could relay maybe a couple of things that have happened, but I'm not on the ground floor there, as you say, and it's hard to really tell what's truly going on through the news media and those kinds of formats, because they're very much pitched battles that are going on, and in the fog of war, as it's called, even though it's not a war at this point, but it is a war for the hearts and minds of the people. And in that context, it's sort of a case of anything goes to try to blame the other side for anything that might be going on, or to try to take advantage. So you have to keep that in mind, that it tinges all the news items that we get, and there's a lot of agendas in the background that people want to have their point of view prevail. So do we have anybody in our panelists or attendees that is maybe lives in at least in South America, or could give some perspective on that?
Yeah, the beekeeper testimonial from yesterday, what was his name? He's in Colombia, next door.
Yosil? Is that his name? He's not in our panelists or attendees, is he?
No. Peggy, you there? Hello?
Okay, how about John? Let's get John, pull John in here. He might have something to say. Or if in the
Yvonne, is Yvonne present? She sent me an article about it. Maybe she knows more or can go more into detail.
not in our list here, no.
Not there?
No. Okay, well,
what would be the best option to change that condition? If it is about the energy problem, what can we create for that energy problem to be sorted as soon as possible, that the families are released from this kind of pressure, no matter who is guilty, because they're all suffering with it? Can somebody start?
well, one way that I see that it could be approached is the energy problem as such is we're getting feedback through your speaker there, Caroline, thank you. The energy problem as such, I mean, that could be reflected into virtually every part of the world right now is going through this energy problem. It's happening in Canada, it's happening in the US, it's happening in France, it's happening all over the world. People are basically rebelling because they can't pay the high energy costs anymore. They feel like they need to have a break from this. And in Venezuela, even though the fuel is relatively low cost, because that's part of the political football they've been playing for years around the planet with this oil and fuel-based economies. Yeah, it's all in the international banking and the international oil companies and the people that control and run all of those, big organizations and the politics involved and so on. And we have the socialist versus capitalist sort of basic ideas that are also at conflict here. So there's a lot of roots to the conflicts besides just the fuel or oil itself. That's what the people see. They don't have the money to be able to afford to have the fuel for their to heat their homes or to cook their food or for their vehicles and so on. So overall, we have this big picture of conflict over oil, and that's what many of the wars that are either ongoing or in the past have been over, is the control of resources, specifically the fuels. So to me, that we have to get at the root of the problem, and we can see it's happening. It's already happening. The solution is there. There's many things that are coming along that will replace the fuels as sources of energy and sources of other things. Like, for example, it's come up recently with Carolina and others about the oil, the plastics in the oceans and in the dumps, and generally the plastic all over the planet. Literally billions of tons have been produced, and it takes a long time to break down. It's breaking down in the oceans into nanoparticles that are causing a lot of problems. And even the gross matter level plastic is a major issue as well for fish, for all the mammals, and as well as the humans. So and all of that's a byproduct of the oil industry. If we didn't have the oil industry, we wouldn't have all those plastics. We would find another way to make the plastics. And there are ways that have been introduced that we could discuss, such as some of the work that Mark House did in creating a film with the GANS based using a citrus product. You can actually create a plastic-like film, and that's would be an excellent experimental area for people to get into as yet another means of replacing our dependency on these oil-based products. If we're no longer dependent on them, there'll no longer be a market for all of this nonsense. Instead, there'll be a market for other nonsense, perhaps, but if it's universally introduced so that the people have the knowledge to be able to produce on a smaller scale basis, and that way perhaps take away some of the power over us that these large corporations tend to have. So that's one way, is introducing alternate technologies to replace our dependency on the petrochemical based fuels. And I mean, obviously, if we had a generator system, that would be very handy in Venezuela now. If people could have a inexpensive generator that they could take home, and it cured all their problems right now with not having, heat and lights and power to cook food and all that sort of thing. It would be an easier time for them through these stressful points they're going through. But just handing out generators is not going to solve the problem. That's the other aspect of it. So enough about me talking here. Maybe that's inspired somebody to discuss some other aspects. But maybe we can come up with some sort of resolution or solution based on getting at the roots of why do we have this conflict? What is it that that wants to be controlled so much that we're willing to go to war for such issues?
Maybe, Rick, it is a good time to ask the knowledge seekers if anyone has had any success in their development or their research and development about this kind of topic. That it doesn't need to come only from the foundation, but that the knowledge seekers can step forward in their designs and their development, how far and what have they been able to have as a working device. I see them passing on Facebook. Lahak, I think, is one of them. There are a few in the Spanish or Portuguese speaking environment which are working on those solutions. So it would be very nice for the knowledge seekers which know those people, or you pick up these posts and information to bring them on the table and see how far their results are. Because I think they will be the first ones which will have access to get it back to their people. So if anyone is present today on this platform or in the next few days in the private classes, please step forward with your concept and your ideas, and maybe other knowledge seekers can create a group for you to work it out and see where it takes us, because the solutions have already been well explained by Mr. Keshe, the same as I requested for the solving the plastics worldwide, as Rick was mentioning. Then in the recent classes, the cup of life came on the table. It started last week, and yesterday in the soul teaching in the private class, it came on the table. I opened the topic because that is all where we are evolving to, not to touch food, not to kill animals, not to create that different balance, which we all think that should be correct for everyone. And the cup of life is one of it. And I'm happy to announce that next week in the soul teaching, Armin will come back to elaborate on the information and the knowledge about the cup of life. And Mr. Keshe most probably will be joining us as well. So that's something very nice to look forward to. That's a good news, because even when the people have no energy, or when you have the cup of life, you are balanced. And that's the beauty of it. When you understand that that supplies you with everything, even balancing your body energy, we will all, it must be time, because we are simultaneously, because Armin said something very curious to me. He said, how did you guess that I was making one? And I haven't heard Armin for quite a while. He says, how do you know I'm making one? I'm in the process of finishing one.
Good
we
one.
all know magic.
That's a good one. I'll note too that the in the testimonials meeting of Monday yesterday, Gianni gave such a beautiful demonstration or illustration of those principles of growing food in a natural and plasmatic way, you might say, and then living off that food. He's vegetarian. He lives off the food that he grows, that his family does, and that provides better health. And his health is so good that he sleeps very little, and he eats very little. And he's got tremendous energies, doing a lot of things, and it's encouraging to see this natural approach, and his approach to agriculture was so beautiful in that if there's a weed there, you leave the weed. You don't necessarily remove the weed. You plant around it. You allow it to be, but you also say, I wish to have this there, and plant what you wish. So it was such I don't quite have the word for it. It's a symbiotic, I guess, relationship where he was close to the land, yet he wasn't spending all of his time doing agriculture like we might do in some of the intensive methods. And it was very natural the way it grows, and yet it was very productive at the same time. Everything sort of learned to get along with the other ones, and the pests weren't a problem, and the whole area changed. It became, you might say, plasmatically charged, or it becomes like sort of like the Tom Salis effect, where there's a dome of protection or cooperation over this microcosm. So hats off to Gianni for that lovely presentation. It was very encouraging. And thinking in Venezuela, when I think back to the reports, one of the biggest problems in Venezuela is food. People are literally starving and just not able to get the foods they need and afford the foods they need. It may be available in the supermarkets, but it's extremely expensive for even basic vegetables and so on. So there are solutions.
Is there not, with I understood what I can't remember his name said last week. He says the conditions are that when you drop a seed in the ground, it grows. So maybe the agriculture, the way they should or could receive seeds from the foundation and grow their own, that they don't have to go to the supermarkets where it is beyond their limit. Maybe we have to look into that way. It would be nice, maybe later on today, people we will call up again, because some people walk in later, Portuguese or Spanish speaking, or whoever is in that neighborhood might step forward. Do we have any other topics that would needed to become on the table? Any knowledge seeker or council member, please?
Hello, it's Pia from Denmark. I just want to support what you were talking about, Rick and Carolina, because it's very obviously that we can see so many people now. They are so much more aware what's going on. And for example, like you posted one day about people going to the beach and pick up all the garbage, and it's like families are going together and people are going together and pick up all the garbage, and they're seeing that if we can do something about it, we can move forward. And it's like we can build on this opportunity just to make more, maybe we can do some strong campaigns or something like that. Also with the agriculture, for example, like you talked about the agriculture, where people, how they can clean up their soils and make the basics for better production of their own seeds and food. And also like people can go and pick up the plastic. You know, there's so many people who seems to be more and more ready to do something. Even here in Denmark, we see on the television that people are starting, families are planning to spend their weekends to go on the streets or the beach, especially, to pick up all this dirt and all this garbage. Families are taking their children with them and doing something really good. And it seems like we are all more ready to do whatever we can do to make this planet a better place. So I think there's really good possibility to move on with this agriculture and plastic, and this can actually keep people even more close together, that we really can do something. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia. I'd note also that people are taking action, like you say, and also there's a lot of pressure right now internationally to take action, because last year, China made the decision not to take the garbage of other countries, because China was the main recipient for all of the so-called recycling that we do in North America. When we throw our plastic in the garbage, where does it go? Well, it gets eventually gets put onto ships, super tankers, which take it over, not super tankers, but large freight ships, which take it to China to be processed, supposedly, where they've had some terrible environmental damage from this processing of all this huge amounts of garbage that comes from all the other countries of the world. They were using China as a garbage pit, basically. And China decided last year, no, we're not taking people's garbage anymore. We're not taking their plastic. And this has shocked the US and Canada. And now they're having really big problems with the landfills and with the whole recycling trip has been disrupted here in North America, because now we don't, for example, where I am, the glass, they don't know what to do with the glass, because all the glass used to be shipped to China. And now they don't know what to do with it, and they're humming and hawing. They don't want to take it in the recycling anymore. They'll take it now, but they're planning on phasing out receiving glass and so on. So it's amazing in this world that such major things are going on, but here it is. The US and Canada are stuck now. They have to find an alternate way to deal with their own garbage. And this is a big shock. So perhaps it's an opportunity for alternate technologies to come in to show ways of dealing with this stuff. For example, with the plastics, there are ways of just using simple caustic to break down plastics and get fuels if people really want to do that kind of thing. It's technology that's been used, but perhaps we can advance to better technologies that can make use of this raw material. It's just a bunch of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen and a few other elements. And perhaps we can use that as raw material to create other things that are more beneficial in a way that does it without harming the environment and people and animals and fish and all of that. So it's a big challenge, but there are many people on the planet working on that now. And there's lots of young people that are really inspired to do things to help clean up this planet. They see what's going on and they understand, and they're willing to really go for it, to put their lives behind it. And I think that's encouraging. We'll see all kinds of developments come out, especially this year. I think it's, like I say, there's a lot of pressure, both internationally and on the local level. So surely things will change in that context. Anybody else from maybe from the UC sector or others that, if you're an attendee, I remind you can put your hand up and we can allow you to speak or promote you to panelists, whatever is required.
Yeah, there is a piece of news which is related to one of the wishes that we did about the child abuse, and this is also relating to the religion, the person responsible for Vatican Bank was an Australian, was convicted recently in Australia. So of case of due to his action in this area. And it's now publicly known. So people are becoming aware of this situation, and the religions, some of the things in organized religion that has affected people over thousands of years in a way. And so this news is just just bringing a broader awareness. And apparently there are additional information in this area. There has been changes in Vatican, but people who are close to the source may be able to tell has better information. I just heard something, but it's related to our wish that this situation of child abuse come to an end. So perhaps other people can comment and have more information, or we can add to the wish perhaps as an action of what has to happen.
Well, definitely we see that incident as basically the tip of the iceberg, and the iceberg has become transparent, and all of the stuff going on is coming to the surface and being confronted and dealt with in one way or another, many different levels. So I find it's very encouraging that we're seeing that sort of thing come out, and it's the same as on all sectors of society, not just with the children and the abuse that way. It's the same with the corporations and the way they are going about things. It's the same with the politics going on. We see there's some shenanigans in Canada that's happened with politics and possible interference with the judicial system from the political end, and this kind of thing. And that has become essentially transparent. The backdoor dealings of politicians and government they can't get away with it anymore. It's just become transparent what they're doing. And even though it's become transparent, they still might keep carrying on like everything is business as usual. But they look like the fool when they do that, because it's obvious to everybody what's going on. So why would you continue doing that if everyone knows that you were sneaking around and influencing things here and there, and that kind of thing that is just not acceptable to the population anymore. It never was, perhaps, but they always kind of put it just under the carpet and just off to the side. And there wasn't anything you could do in the old days because the communications weren't there with others, and there was a lot of control over the situation. So that control is being sort of been confronted, and now the ordinary people have more control. Dean, you have your hand up there. Maybe you'd like to go ahead with the comment.
Peace, everybody. I just wanted to pop in on the challenges with plastic and different hydrocarbon products. It's really easy to break them down with micro-remediation, because there have been funguses that have been developed that quickly and easily break down plastics and, anything that's hydrocarbon. So it's not that the technologies aren't there, and it's not that the groups aren't there, like Keshe Foundation and what are they? Bioengineers. There are groups that already have these solutions. It's not a lack of solutions. It's just, how do we get them implemented on large scale now? So I guess if we're going to have a wish, my wish would be that I wish that the technologies for cleaning up these environmental degradations that were created by bad planning or good planning, that we have an opportunity to put the technologies into place to make our lives better and the planet too. That's about it.
Very good, Dean. I am present with your wish. And we have Gianni here, who gave the presentation that I was mentioning earlier. And perhaps he may need some translation, and I'm sure there'll be some backup for that. Gianni, would you like to go ahead? Hello?
Hello, everyone. Y si alguien puede traducir, por favor. Por favor, si alguien puede traducir de rumano a inglés o de español al inglés, por favor.
That can do the translation for this, please? Is Jeanette present? Or anybody else?
Or maybe John can. John, can you do translation?
Hello.
Perhaps Stella. Stella, you know Spanish, don't you? Is that what we need? We need either Spanish or what other language? Romanian? Is that it? Spanish or Romanian?
Solo en español, por favor, o a lingua romana? ¿Es igual o solo en español?
Es igual. I speak Spanish. I speak Romanian.
Yeah. He can use the two languages. Oh, because my Spanish is not sufficient enough to do this kind of translation. It's too technical.
Ok, entonces voy a esperar cuando está alguien que habla español o rumano.
Okay. John, are you there?
We have someone with their hand up, Victor. Maybe he can go ahead and maybe he's able to help. Victor, can you translate?
Thank you, Victor.
Is that what you wanted, Victor? I'm not able to hear your microphone yet.
It's Peggy. Peggy, do you translate also Spanish? Hello, Peggy.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm glad my mic is working again. No, I'm sorry. I only speak English, but I believe Victor, if we can get him a mic, he translated yesterday.
I'm here.
Okay, we have Jeanette here, so she can do it then.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you.
Perfect.
Hola, Jeanette. ¿Me escuchan?
Sí, por favor.
Quería decir y compartir mis experiencias.
Sorry, I am in the car and I am on my cell. If there's any sounds in the back, sure. sorry, allow me to get out of this area that has a lot of interference. Just give me 1 second, okay? Please.
Okay, thank you.
5 minuti, per favore.
Okay, Carolina, thank you.
Okay, I can hear you, Yanni. Sorry, I'm driving in an area that is not very good for reception. Go ahead. Estoy lista, Yanni. Estoy manejando en una zona que no tengo buena recepción. Cuéntame, ¿cómo te ayudo? Adelante.
Para traducirlo, quiero compartir mis experiencias.
I would like to share my experiences.
Con las semillas.
With the seeds.
Y con las semillas que están tratadas.
Especially with the seeds that have been treated.
Y modificadas genéticamente.
So I can modify them genetically.
Porque he trabajado unos años.
Because I have been working for some years.
Para que podamos utilizar las semillas que están modificadas.
So I can use the seeds that have been modified.
Y quiero dar un ejemplo.
Sorry.
An example.
Okay.
Y ya he contado de los de semillas del alma.
We're losing your signal there, Jeanette. Hello? Can you hear us? We can't hear you at this point. Let's give her just a minute. I think she's going to a better location with a better reception. So
it's okay. Rick, please continue. I speak maybe little 20 minutes. Okay?
Okay, yep. Okay, we'll wait till Jeanette has a better connection. All right, thank you very much. We'll get back to that. Does anyone else have something they'd like to comment with? Are you still there, Carolina?
I'm always there. I go quiet because I'm multitasking, but I'm always there.
Oh, yes.
But you have to give me a second to get to my microphone. No problem. I just posted something pardon, in the chat room about a weather forecast. And I think we all know what that means for a lot of people. And it seems to be very severe. There is a second one, and I think we can focus our wishes towards those kind of areas. I don't know how much you can share in public because these are just links.
Let's see.
You can see it in the chat?
Yeah.
So you got to open it separate. There is a second one too. And these are similar conditions from faced in Dominica. So with native areas, the knowledge seekers can work more intensive towards creating a protection field. It is very important to be aware of that as a knowledge seeker, that you can bring the change. not to remove the storm or for this, not those kind of issues, but by spreading probably more GANS waters in your environment and increase the field strength through the wishes and bringing them on the tables for the areas where this is about to take place. And this way we support everything, life, nature, not only humanity. Do you get a better idea from it, Rick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to determine whether we can show the website or is it copyright and so on. So I'm going through it to look for that. I don't know much about the storm yet.
We have on Facebook, in Messenger, we have a group which is working on SOS. So they do exchange of all kinds of information and support and teaching and supplies of knowledge and GANs and systems. So try to find your way, because that is where I picked them up. And sometimes there's nothing you can do, but sometimes you say, wow, this is nearby, or you have a solution, you can jump in. It's like a small thinking tank. And it is good for knowledge seekers to maybe start working more intensive there, that you don't need to scan the whole news channels and bump into something by accident to know where there is a problem that you can help support. When we are aware of it, we bring it on the table and we change it.
Okay, well, people can have a look at those links, and let me also put those links into the live stream chat. Get them into the other chats as well. Oh, I think you're having trouble with posting links in live stream now. Let me try one of these at a time. That worked. Okay, I posted in live stream. So you can have a look at those links. Don't want to show the website because it might be a copyright issue, but the if you look at the first link there, the storm that they show has a very interesting configuration. It's almost like the yin and yang symbol in a way of and we have the northern cold coming down from the Arctic, and we have the warmer air coming up from looks like South America. And where the two hit, there's a central core sort of eye of a hurricane look to it. It's quite interesting. So in a way, we have the conflict in Venezuela with the influence of the US coming down and the influence of Venezuela going out into the world in a whirlpool of its own. So it's similar in many ways. Okay, we have a message from Jeanette that she'll be home in about 15 minutes if we want to wait for that. So we'll be able to get translation then. So let's carry on. Anybody else that would like to comment?
Ursula has problems with her network at this given moment, and she apologized that she could not be present today. I have been inviting more Universal Council members in. I do not know, is Eva present? Because she might have had something interesting about education for children, but I don't see her yet.
Yes, we have an Eva in the attendees that's just been promoted to panelist, I believe. Or she was an attendee before she disappeared when you mentioned her name, at least.
Oh, she's there.
Oh, I see. That's at the top. Thank you. Hi, Eva.
Hi. Caroline asked me if I had any idea about children's education part. And I am not knowledge, I don't have all the knowledge, so it will be very difficult for me to do that on my own. But Lisa and Jim had a very good idea. We made the background work for the series. We put out the first series, Understanding Plasma Science. So my idea was kind of like making a group and gather all the knowledge we have between us and put it in one package that could be, maybe make some kind of teaching materials for kids. So like a focus group that, pick out parts, maybe think about small animations and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. And I see Mehran has her hand up, and maybe she has something to add to this this part. Mehran, you want to go ahead?
Hello, thank you very much. It was just about that, and about the children missing. Well, it's not really negative what I'm saying. I know Carolyn says, don't think about this, but the good news is it's getting down, getting less and less. I just arrived. The thing is that this is a tradition which comes from very far, and the people are worshiping the god of Baal, B-A-A-L, and it goes on till today. And for getting power, they sacrifice their children, maybe their own children sometimes, to get power. And it seems that a child which is very afraid by torture or whatever, there is a hormone in the body which is called chromoadrenaline. And this chromoadrenaline in the blood of this child, innocent, it should be innocent child, is very good to live longer and in good shape. So there are people that are used to it, and they have the habit of to have their consumption of this. But thanks God, as people know about that more and more, and we almost know the names in the internet, and there are some of the very, very rich and old people, and we know the custom, and I have a feeling it's getting lower regarding 2 years ago, and I don't know if it has something to do, excuse me, maybe with the wish of Mr. Keshe when Fabio died, and it's my imagination. that he cut the influence of others from outside to these people, because they have a god with in ceremony, they get contact with that, and that one gives them the indications and guidance. And if you have seen in California, I don't remember the name, in the forest, in July, they come together, all the politicians and big power and all that. And they have a ceremony in the owl in front of the big statue, stone statue of owl, and the fire, and pretending to have done a sacrifice. Or, you know, it's Alex Jones who had made a video on that, if you know it. So getting the, I think it's because Mr. Cash cut that relation with the outside power who gave them power, because it seems like they have difficulty to keep themselves in shape and the human shape. I don't know if you have heard about it. It says Mr. Putin had had announced that Queen Elizabeth had changed shape a few times while he was with her. I mean, there are things like that about these people have problem now to keep their own human form. And so I hope it's getting less and less, because in some ceremonies, near these ceremonies in Eastern, Pac, there are more missing children. I'm sorry to say that, but it's getting less, I hope, because now we know why they wanted to use these children for orgies, for sacrifice, for their chromoadrenaline to live longer. Maybe the idea of Mr. Cash that we can live longer, they don't need to do all these things for that. So it's, for me, it's something like it's going to go away soon for me. It's just, we have to put forward agriculture and education, and then everything is just perfect. Thanks to all the work of people who put hours and hours for this new knowledge.
Okay, thank you, Marinez.
Thank you.
Oh, I see that John had trouble with his microphone. That's why he wasn't able to handle the Spanish earlier. I hope you get that fixed, John. Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to weigh in on any issues we brought up, or any new issues you'd like to bring up?
Rick?
Yes?
It's Peggy. My mic is working again. Thank you. I was just thinking back to Carolina speaking regarding the seeds, and I do have a wish that we can come together and create a seed bank of plasma seeds to be able to hand out freely to everyone. That is my wish.
Seed bank of plasma seeds. Okay. It's interesting. I am present with that wish. Seems like we might need a GANS bank with to make GANS readily available to all. That could be another banking procedure for the banks of the future. This is what we should be banking. We should be banking seeds, banking GANS, banking nanomaterials, and banking our own skills and helping each other. Maybe that'll be the currency of the future.
Don't forget a good advice. The minute you soak the seeds in the GANS solution, they start sprouting. I did it in a different way a few days ago. I just planted my seeds without soaking them, but watering them with a mixture of GANS water and rainwater, fresh rainwater. We had a big storm, so I had plenty of it. And within 3 days, I have 1 centimeter growth in the seeds, which is amazing because usually it does not go that fast. Within 3 days, my seeds were above the ground 1 centimeter, and I thought, my God, this is fast. So some of them are a slower process because the germinating process is slower. But I see I did a lot of different seeds this year, not too big, but a variation. And I used different combinations of GANS waters, and they are germinating extremely fast. It's something people have to understand. Don't put them in the water, because when you put them in the water, you activate the whole process, even though it is GANS water. So the best solution is the GANSes separate and the seeds, and ship them off. And give the instructions with it, because the minute you touch them or they get in touch with the moist of the GANS, they just go. They just release themselves. You've seen the same thing in last week's presentation. By the next morning, within 12 hours, they start sprouting. So it's a very fast process. It's a good idea, but I think it will be very beneficial for people to start collecting seeds, different seeds, that you have them yourself when the supermarket starts running out or the prices go sky high, to have them at home, and then you still can do all the exchange, or start doing the exchange if you have from some too much. And if you have the GANSes, exchange them with it, but don't touch the seeds with the GANS water, because they just go off. I do another process in testing, and that is I have put, like Johnny did last week, I've put beans in the GANS water in room temperature, not specific warm or cold. And then I've put a tray on top of it without the seeds coming in touch with any water. So they are within the environment, and I'm curious if they're going to sprout, because they are specifically dried and they are beans, so they're not easy to sprout, not in that way. And I will give you feedback on that too very soon.
Okay, well, that's definitely true about the seeds and the CO2, but I think maybe Peggy had something different in mind for the preparation of the seeds. And maybe some people might be using different techniques rather than the GANS water, like maybe with field interaction of the seeds, just keeping them within the area of a container of GANS or something like that, or charging the seeds beforehand. Did you have any input on that, Peggy, or what do you think?
My thought was simply the seeds that have come from the fruits and the flowers of plants that were raised from a seedling being treated with the plasma from seedling stage forth.
Okay.
So we have a generation of plasma seeds. It's already there in their RNA. And then as we continue, they only get stronger and better, and we can share those, knowing that the seeds that we're giving them, even if somebody is new and makes a mistake with their plasma water, even though you can't really, but if they forget to put it or whatever, then at least we know that the initial seed has already been propagated from the plasma fields. It already comes with its own, so to speak.
Thank you, Peggy. I got another news to share, which I noticed last week, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. But this week, they all start doing it. One still is not. But if you have orchids and you love those inside the house, they are gorgeous plants. When I start watering them specific with the same gases as I did with the seeds treatment, because I changed my composition of my GANS mixture, usually we cut the stem where the flower flowered before. We usually cut it down because it's a dry stick. It just disappears. And funny enough, the ones which have been treated with the GANS waters, the stems have stayed intact and they are reflowering already on the same stems, which is very unusual because usually they start shooting new branches up and then they give flowers. But in this case, they just restart as nothing has happened, which is it's very strange. And I never seen them doing it. The last year they didn't do it. I used only CO2 and zinc water, mainly. Now I have increased the mixture with zinc, CO2, CH3, a few drops of CO, magnesium and calcium, and the plants are just beaming out of the pots. Even the herbs, which I got an assortment from, they're amazing. They are double in size and they're shooting up like you have given them a kick up their butt to grow faster. It is beautiful to witness it. So try it with your orchids. The same thing happened with my amaryllis. They have start flowering and the plants were in a very bad shape. They barely survived the winter. They were in another place. Somebody babysitted them for me. And when I got them back, they were in a very desperate state. And I already had my first 3 flowers from one. And the knob of the new seeds has already formed. So it is increasing in speed. So Mr. Keshe is correct that you double the cycle of the plants. They're enjoying it and they show it by their gifts and showing it by their beauty. So maybe it's a good tip for other people to start applying it to their other household plants and fruit trees in the garden. It works.
Well, certainly Peggy has applied it in the latest issue of the Plasma Times, the Keshe Foundation Plasma Times. We have an article by Peggy on the chocolate bell pepper plant, a testimonial. And this was discussed in the testimonials meeting yesterday, but I'll bring it up again because it's a great example and it's beautiful pictures and so on. We have the chocolate bell pepper plant and how well it did it. You reminded me because this is what the plant looked like after the caterpillars got done with it. They came in one day and just totally devastated the plant. I think it was a day. Peggy, if you want to talk about it a bit, that would be great to just remind us how great the technology is and how much of a solution it can be.
It's wonderful. I'm very grateful to Mr. Keshe for bringing this information to us. I've never had much success with a plant that has no when it's been destroyed to this amount. The caterpillars actually came in overnight. They were that quick. I saw nobody on them when I went in the evening, but the next morning I came out and they were just covered. You can even see in the background of the picture with the caterpillar, you can see the other guy walking back there, but they were just covered. And I looked and there was just these little stalks left, and I thought, well, makes no sense in taking the risk in harming a caterpillar and moving them off the plant at this point. I'm just going to let them finish up and leave on their own. So by the end of the day, next morning, they were totally gone. And I thought, what am I going to do here? The chocolate bell peppers are absolutely delicious. No, I'm sorry, they don't taste like chocolate. They only look like we've dipped them in chocolate. They have a beautiful brown flesh to them. But they are a little sweeter than a typical green bell pepper, but, you know, very similar in flavor. But I thought, geez, what am I going to do with you? And so first thing, I made a mix of the plasma waters with certain GANSs, which is in the article for anybody that wishes to. And I made some health rings, 3 little health rings with CH3, CO2, and zinc, ZNO. And I decided, what am I going to do here? I know my intention is to support the plant, to bring it to full life again. So I kind of went with the concept of an upside down reactor, because I'm wanting to pull energies from the root to the stalks. There's no leaves, because usually it would get a lot of its energy from the leaves. So I put the rings on a stick above the highest point of the leftover stalk there. And then for the roots, I used a master mix, what I call my master mix blend of the different GANS, or GANS waters, just the waters, to water the root base with. And I think it was only, it says in the article, but I think it was only 2 or 3 days, and I had leaves already on it. It was lick. I could go back and write notes or read the article to remember specific if it was 2 days or 3 days. But I had leaves really, really quickly. And then it just kept going. And then in the one picture you can see here, it's actually 3 peppers on there that came up relatively soon, which was amazing. And the best part about this is my winter time. This is my winter season, and we've had a pretty harsh one. We've had 4 snow days, which I can remember when we would get a dusting of a few snowflakes once every 5 to 10 years, and we were excited. So we've had quite the winter, but this poor thing even went through some really heavy-duty hailstorms. We had one that was about 15 to 18 minutes long, and it was very strong and large hail. And it tore a few leaves, but it's like, okay, thank you. And it just kept doing its thing. It's very happy right now. The peppers did turn the appropriate color. They did get soft, though. Their flesh did get soft, and I think that's because we had some hard freezes, and I did wrap them, but I think the temperatures just got too cold. But their seeds, I harvested I think the most that was in one of them was 15 seeds. So we'll see how those seeds do. But I'm just thrilled. I've never seen anything like this happen with a plant that had nothing left to it or very little left to it. It's beautiful. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Peggy. And thanks for the testimonial in the article with all the great pictures as well, because that picture of the bell pepper, the chocolate bell pepper, I just want to reach out and take a big bite out of it. It looks so yummy. All right. Any comments or questions for Peggy on that? Dean, I see your hands up. I'm not sure if you had it up before or you would like to speak. Go ahead if you will.
I have a question. Is there a sulfur GANS? Hello?
Yeah, I heard the question. It's just no one's responding rapidly here. I haven't.
Oh, okay.
That's a very good question, actually. And you're
Well,
thinking, I know you have something in mind when you ask it, and I think it's related to agriculture, where sulfur is used quite a bit in agriculture, right?
Yeah, every plant needs sulfur. And I'm just wondering if there's been anything done or if GANS can be created with sulfur.
And sulfur-based liquids are used on plants to reduce fungus and mold and that kind of thing.
Well, it's more than just that. They actually need the sulfur in order to do the photosynthesis. It's part of the carbon uptake cycle. They have to have sulfur.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure how that works in and whether the people in the agricultural side have worked with that.
Have you ever been able, or do you know anybody who's made a sulfur GANS?
Well, some people have made magnesium, what they call magnesium GANS, using magnesium sulfate, which is MgSO4, magnesium and sulfur. So it would make sense if you started with, and quite a few people have tried to create the actual GANS material instead of using salt NaCl, normally sodium chloride. They use the MgSO4 magnesium sulfate, commonly known as Epsom salts. So in a sense, that would be the sulfur environment. It's definitely there. The magnesium and sulfur are the main constituents of that solution.
Well, that's what plants need, both magnesium and sulfur. So that answers my question. So that would probably be a key component in agricultural production.
Yeah, and definitely just even adding Epsom salts is often a cure for plants that have yellow leaves and that sort of thing. It makes the magnesium available in the environment and suddenly they kick in, because magnesium is really important to that chlorophyll process, apparently.
Okay, well, that answered my question. Thank you very much.
Well, it may not fully answer it, but it's a hint that the sulfur is in the environment when people create it.
Yeah, with those two ingredients, it would make sense that you'd have both the field strength of the sulfur and the magnesium, which are, those are two field strengths that are really important. And if you can get the essence of the sulfur without having to mine it, that just adds it takes a lot of cost out of the production of plants.
And there's a lot of, it's very disruptive. Because if it takes care of it, then it shuts down the mines, shuts down the transportation. So as we introduce these things, there has to be a whole different paradigm of mankind. I guess that's where we have fun teaching, huh? Because everybody has to learn. Okay, here's your new world.
Yes. Well, that's a good point. Maybe by maybe knowledge seekers can add a bit of Epsom salts, the magnesium sulfate, to the normal salt solution when they're creating the GANSs for agriculture, and you'll have those field strengths built into the final CO2 GANS that's created from that environment. And perhaps that would be more useful for agricultural purposes.
Interesting questions. I'm glad to be part of the research, Steve.
And perhaps if it was used in that way, it would already provide what the plant needs with its sulfur, and maybe it would need less sulfur type sprays for controlling the fungus and that sort of thing, because it would be built into the plant. It already had that field strength as a protective barrier, let's say.
Well, and then if you add on to that particular equation, if you have a healthy soil with your fungi and mycorrhizal fungi, what happens is it puts up an antibiotic layer on the top of the soil. And when rain or water hits it, the spores aren't there to be released because there's already an antibiotic layer that's within the ground. We did some testing in Napa using Florodius mushrooms, and they found out that it's parasitic to nematodes, so it got rid of the nematode problem. And because of the antibiotic and the fact that when the rain hit, it didn't splash up the spores, they didn't have to use as much sulfur as they did before, because the mildew didn't come.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Natural net.
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, it's not only the natural net for but it gets rid of the nematodes, because the fungus is actually parasitic to nematodes. And it creates a moisture. It's a symbiotic relationship with the roots and the fungus, that the fungus on the roots moderates the water intake, and it sets up a network within the whole area that's been inoculated and run. So the whole area works together as a unified field of connectivity through the mycelial network.
So are you saying in effect that we could grow mushrooms on the plastic garbage and grow food on top of the mushrooms?
Well, it makes more sense to.
I mean, isn't that in effect what you said, is that you're growing the food plant on top of this mycelium network that's in the ground, which is a protective sort of layer, right?
Right, but if you're
if what was underneath that was the plastic being broken down by the mushrooms, by that mycelium network, would not that work somehow in a strange way?
It would probably be easier to process and I've been working on. I have a machine that'll produce 50 cubic yards of substrate a day out of waste product. That then in about a 10-day period of time is ready to be inoculated as a bioremediation. And when you're dealing with something like plastic, which you want to do, or I think, and I would get with people who've done more work with this. I have the machine to process the material, that gives a seed in order to make it happen. But you would grind the plastic, get it the right moisture content, inoculate the plastic with the fungus, and then do one of two things. You can either make the plastic then through the fungus and the colonization with the mycelium, you can put it into like building panels or whatever, heat it after it's run, and then it becomes a very, very solid building material. Or you can take and process the plastic with a fungus that breaks it down. The hydrocarbons are broken down, and then you can take that and use it as a amendment to the soil. So it becomes part of the process of building soil. And then you grow the food on it. And I have no idea what can happen when we add the field strengths of the plasma energy to this whole equation. Lots of questions.
Yes, interesting. The garbage heaps of the future may be the starting of a new agricultural revolution. Hard to imagine, but with the pressures right now, as I discussed earlier, that if you look at the U.S., they're in a bad situation. They don't know what to do with all their plastic garbage. They've been spoiled by sending it all off to China. You know, what we call recycling, and all it does is pollute the earth with more large ships on the oceans, which are the worst source of pollution. And we've been just shipping everything over to China, where they often burn the material to get the energy out of it, or to release the oils and that kind of thing. Very destructive processes. And yet perhaps the answer is right in front of us in terms of this bacterial or fungus breakdown and that whole process. And of course, there's processing processes that, like you're talking about, this machine that can remediate the soil, or remediate the.
Well, what the machine does is, it through aerobic bacteria, it digests the material. So by the time it's gone through the machine, it comes out the other end composted already with biophilic bacterium, which its outer shell, as soon as it hits the air and dies, is an oxygen bubble. And it increases the plant growth by about double.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so much. It's just, how do we, my wish is, let us get these things released. We know what the technology is. So much of the stuff we already know. It's like I screamed up one side and the other and kept it alive. The machine isn't even being manufactured anywhere in the world. I know the manufacturer that could put it into production in 12 weeks. But there's just so much that's out there that we haven't been able to release. Anyway, that's a cry.
Perhaps the time is right because of the pressures, like I was mentioning, with the garbage situation, and at the same time, the really strong necessity for food for people and so on.
Right.
Perhaps it's like a perfect storm that will enable those technologies.
I hope so. And the beautiful thing is the processing of fungus is so quick. It's like one of the funguses would, and I think it was a Pleurotius mushroom, was trained how to eat cigarette butts.
Right.
Yeah, you can train it.
And we have funguses that were mentioned in Russia that are able to create gold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a common thing from years ago, that certain funguses or bacteria could release gold from soil condition and so on. That's part of what happens in the earth to create the gold to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So we could relate this is all, if you look at it on the nano layer and the nano level, and the interactions on that level of the nanoparticles, the nanomaterials, and the fields involved with the plasma of these materials. And that way we can see how the Keshe technology can interact with the, the mushroom world, for example, which we haven't really looked at too closely. I don't remember Mr. Keshe discussing mushrooms in particular. I think this is
I asked him, had they done any research in this? And he said, no, they haven't. And the stuff we can't see that's in the ground, I just can't imagine. No, I can't imagine what's going to happen as we start fusing the knowledge that has come so far with, bringing carbon in growing plants. You're taking and creating carbon chains, and the technology that has been worked with so far is showing how much quicker the carbon chains can be created, and also creating, greater biomass as it happens. And the biomass that is created from the increased carbon uptake, when you add fungus, it breaks down that and turns it back into the carbon dioxide. So you can put it in a greenhouse situation with fungus and the green growing plants. And by growing the two together, you're increasing the carbon dioxide from the breaking down of the biomass that is created. And I'm anxious to see what's going to happen when we actually see that full cycle happen. And the beautiful thing about fungus is it runs so quickly if everything is prepared right, that in a period of 14 days, you have usually 14 to 18 days, you'll have a fruit body. And within a 2-month period of time, you have broken down the material into, complete, ready to be turned back into the soil.
That would apply to ground up plastic in particular, or is that what you're thinking, or other stuff?
Biomass.
Biomass. Okay. What about the ground up? What happens to the ground up plastic with the mushroom situation?
Well, what happens with fungus is you're breaking down the carbon and releasing the carbon in carbon dioxide into the air. And as the fungus is running, it's like a fire. It gets hot. And so what you're doing is you're eating the carbon and releasing the carbon back into the air. And the plastic gets broken down into the constituents that it was in the beginning. And if it's a hydrocarbon like diesel or whatever, experiment done, diesel fuel, they did bacteria, they did Chlorodeus mushroom or oyster mushroom, and they did, I can't remember one other thing. And within 14 days, 20 days, they had these beautiful, huge mushrooms like on steroids, because there was so much carbon there that they were able to eat and release. And within a season, what had happened is, first of all, the pile of sludge was degraded. I mean, it was digested. The fruit bodies had come. The worms come and lay eggs on mushroom fruit bodies. They eat those. The worms bring in the birds bring in the seeds. And within the season of using Chlorodeus mushroom for bioremediation, there were plants growing where there was nothing able to grow before, and the other piles that had been dealt with they still smelled like oil. And so just by adding one component, the digester, you
Mm-hmm.
God, you know, when you put in the fungus ran because it loved what it had to eat, created its fruit body. The fruit body gave a home for the insects gave a food source for the birds brought the seeds, and you have remediation, and then you're ready to plant.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I think it's time for maybe some research with how the GANS might interact with the mushroom world, and see if there's ways they can help each other.
When we do this, it's like I've been working on funding, and with a paper that has come out with, you know, from Keshe that we all worked on for the agriculture. I want to get these to some people who are really researchers in this, who have the ability to, you know, really get the information, because their hearts are, we're in an extinction situation right now, and the only organisms that last through, say, an ice age or climate catastrophes are those organisms that pair with fungi, because fungi are the ones that carry the life through from one epoch to the next. And by correctly using these things, we can feed the populace. Oh, and by the way, the health benefits to fungus are just so incredible. And as far as protein and food source and amount of time it takes to grow, and it's just an incredible, magical world. Anyway, I don't think I have anything else to say, but it's definitely, and besides, I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad we have the wishes that are here, and I am present, and I say blessings to all and peace.
Very good. Thank you, Dean. And I am present with your wish.
I am present. I got another suggestion for the knowledge seekers. That is, can somebody do research on algae? Apparently, algae can be put to even to go to the extreme of surviving for long periods of time just on algae. I can give you the more specific name, just 1 second. They're for all sorts of kinds of applications and use in pure spirulina.
It's a green algae. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was mentioned in the testimonial we had on Monday. It was in the French testimonial that I showed from 2017. They mentioned spirulina GANS. So some people may have been experimenting with that already, perhaps. If anybody has experience with that, they might want to say. And someone who might have experience with it might be Gianni. And we do have our translator ready to go, Jeanette. So perhaps we could get into that. Did you want to discuss, Carolina, discuss that some more before we get into that?
No, it's fine. It's just bringing a hint on the table. If people have done any more research, if it has already come on the table, and what is their success rate and what do they have as a working condition with this specific green algae.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Okay, well, let's go ahead with Jeanette, are you ready? See, we'll have to bring her into, let me bring you into as panelist here so you can operate better. And Gianni, I'm going to promote you to panelist too, so we're all on the same page, so to speak.
Thank you, Rick.
Ready?
Yes.
All right, well, go ahead, sure.
Ready, listo.
He escuchado lo que has dicho,
I have listened what you were saying.
Y me alegro mucho por todo lo que has dicho.
I'm very happy to hear what you said.
Y comprendo en inglés.
I understand English.
No todo, pero sí que algo.
Not everything, but a bit.
Y quiero empezar con lo de spirulina.
I want to start with the spirulina.
Porque tenemos un poquito de experiencia con spirulina.
Because we have experience with it.
Que hemos recogido de la costa de Francia.
We have gathered some samples from the coast of France.
De la cuesta de a unos 100 kilómetros de Le Havre.
About 100 kilometers from Le Havre.
Hemos, como he dicho antes, hemos trabajado mucho con las plantas, algas.
I have mentioned before, we've been working a lot with the plants and the algae.
Para obtener, bueno, digamos, para hacer una oportunidad para la gente que utiliza lo que es natural.
So that we have had the opportunity to give it to people that are using natural things.
Y con lo de la spirulina hemos hecho un experimento con spirulina y GANS de CNO y CO2.
In reference to spirulina, we have had some testing that we've done with the GANS of CO2 and zinc.
Pero no para obtener el GANS.
But not to obtain the GANS.
Bueno, el GANS de spirulina.
From spirulina.
Y solo para utilizarlo en la alimentación.
Only to be used as food.
Y es maravilloso.
It is fantastic, wonderful.
Porque cuando comes muy poco.
Because when you eat very little food.
Y todo natural, sin tratamiento térmico.
And everything natural without any heat applied to it.
Puedes sentir los campos.
You can feel the fields.
Y la relación y interacción entre las plantas y lo que llamamos el cuerpo físico.
And the relationship between the plants and what we call the physical body.
Y nosotros estamos preparando sopa de algas.
We are preparing a soup of algae.
Y si, por ejemplo, comes 100 mililitros al día.
And for example, if you eat 100 milliliters per day.
No necesitas más.
You don't need anything else, nothing.
Y también hemos utilizado para hacer cremas.
We have also used in the preparation of creams.
Utilizando la solución que hemos dicho, CO2 y spirulina.
Using the solution we just mentioned, which is CO2, zinc, and spirulina.
Y aceite de coco.
And also coconut oil.
He hablado de eso en grupo español y francés.
Speaking about it in the group, in the French and Spanish groups.
Y también he enseñado cómo aparece cómo se ve con el microscopio.
We have also showed people how they look under the microscope.
Y si queréis, puedo enseñarlo también aquí, compartirlo.
If you would like, I can share it with you.
Yes, we would like, I believe.
Ok. Voy a tardar unos 3-4 minutos para abrir la carpeta.
Okay, so please bear with me about 2 or 3 minutes so I can open the file.
Pero voy a seguir hablando.
But I will continue talking.
Y compartir lo de experiencia con las semillas.
And be able to share with you my experience with the seeds.
Antes de la tecnología plasmática he utilizado la energía de la pirámide.
Before using the plasma energy technology, I was using the energy from the pyramids.
Intentando restablecer las semillas tratadas que se hacen normal otra vez.
In looking to achieve a process of treating the seeds so I could restore them to its natural condition.
Y sí que hemos logrado algo.
And yes, we were able to accomplish some results.
Pero con muchas semillas hemos tardado 3 años.
But with many of the seeds, it took us 3 years.
En el año pasado, cuando hemos empezado con la tecnología plasmática.
Last year, when we started using the plasma technology.
Y quiero clarificar eso.
And I want to clarify that.
Hemos utilizado el agua de CO2, agua plasmática de GANS de CO2 y CNO.
We've been using the plasma water of the CO2 and the zinc.
Porque al principio no teníamos las otras hechas.
Because at the beginning, we did not have any other GANSes manufactured.
Y hemos crecido juntos con los GANSes, con el plasma.
We have grown together with the GANSes and the plasma.
Y utilizándolo, hemos empezado a comprender cada día más.
And by using them, we have been able to comprehend every day more.
Y por eso doy las gracias otra vez a Mr. Keshe y toda mi vida voy a hacer eso.
And once again, I'm going to say thank you to Mr. Keshe, and I will be continuing all my life to be in gratitude with him.
Porque nunca, no tienes que tardar. Es muy fácil y en poco tiempo las semillas que están modificadas.
Because it doesn't take time. It's a very fast process that you could modify the seeds.
Y se va a su, digamos, genoma original.
And it will go to its original genome.
Y eso es maravilloso.
And that is something that is marvelous.
Y lo que he visto con las semillas ese año.
What I have been able to observe with the seeds this year.
Que fueron, que estuvieron en agua plasmática 24 horas.
That they were in the under the water, submerged in the water of CO2.
Han tardado para, digamos, ¿cómo se dice? Germinar.
They have germinated or sprouted.
Unos 3, 4, 5 días.
About 3, 4 or 5 days.
Pero ese año han germinado en solo 24 horas.
But this year, everything has sprouted within 24 hours.
Es increíble.
It's amazing.
Y me alegro mucho que es posible eso.
And I'm very happy that this is possible.
Y claro, las semillas, estoy hablando de las semillas del oasis.
I'm referring to the seeds that I used in the oasis.
Porque con las otras que son de mercados o de otro sitio.
Because with the other ones that are purchased in the supermarkets or other places.
Tardan unos 3, 5, 7 días.
It takes about 3 to 7 days.
Y también hemos hecho experimentos con semillas de supermarket.
We have also done experiments of seeds that we have purchased in the supermarkets.
Y hemos obtenido resultados.
Yeah, we have been obtaining results.
Y una vez que los sembras,
and once you plant them,
vas a recoger semillas que son maravillosas.
You're going to be able to collect wonderful seeds.
De cuando tenemos la poca experiencia de un año con el plasma,
Even though we have a short time of experience that has been about a year,
ya no vamos a utilizar pirámides o otras cosas porque no es necesario.
we're not going to use pyramids or other devices because we don't think they are necessary.
Y, ok, si hay preguntas.
Okay, is there any questions?
Yes, do you have any pictures you'd like to show?
Que sí, por favor, ¿quieres compartir algunas fotos?
Las fotos con las semillas.
Correcto.
Sí, pero bueno, se puede ver la crema, ¿no? Voy a abrir entonces la otra carpeta y sí, voy a compartir las semillas.
Ok, ¿esto que tienes aquí qué es?
Es la crema que está hecho con aceite de coco.
Ok.
Diga.
No, okay, perfecto. O sea, no, this picture that he has right now is the picture of the cream that he manufactured with the CO2, the zinc, and the coconut oil with the spirulina, ¿correcto? ¿No solo tiene spirulina?
Aquí es con calendula officinalis.
Okay, so no, this one in particular has calendula. Oh my God, calendula. Let me see the translation for calendula. Okay, no, this one doesn't have the spirulina, but it has another very nice herbal that is called calendula. It's excellent for bringing down the swollenness, or when people have a lot of bruising, it will allow you to process the bruise in short time.
No sé cómo se llama en inglés, o en rumano se llama galbenele, en español parecido a amarillas.
No, es calendula lo que dijiste, ¿no? You said it was calendula?
Sí, calendula es.
One second, I'm searching for the word. Well,
we use calendula.
Calendula is the same name, yeah.
English. It comes from marigold flower from the daisy family.
Yes.
Okay,
y aquí hemos hecho la crema, hemos puesto en 500 gramos de aceite y 100 gramos de plantas, solo 10 mililitros de agua plasmática.
Okay, in this case, this is the calendula cream in which we used 500 grams of the oil, and then we added 100 grams of the plant in 10 milliliters of the GANS.
Y cuando empezó a cristalizarse,
when the cream started to crystallize,
he visto cómo se hace partícula con partícula.
I have been able to see how each particule is created.
Nunca antes he obtenido eso con las cremas y todo lo que hemos hecho 20 años.
I have never seen this process that I had the opportunity to watch, and I've been doing this for about 20 years.
Y eso pasa también con todas las plantas y cremas que hemos hecho.
That's the same thing that we have experienced with all the plants and creams that we have manufactured.
Aquí es casi tiene poco para cristalizarse del todo.
What you can observe here that there's very little very little left, so that the entire substance is crystallized.
Y se puede ver se puede ver con los ojos sin microscopio.
And you can watch it with your eyes without the need of using a microscope.
Aquí está sin agua plasmática.
Here is without plasmatic water,
Y es diferente.
and it's totally different.
Ok, voy a cerrar la carpeta y intento poner las semillas.
Okay, I'm going to close this file and I'm going to open up the seeds.
Si hay preguntas.
If you have any questions, please.
Well, thank you, Gianni. And I'll just note that it says in the Wikipedia that the calendula is it's an edible flower that's actually used in rituals and ceremonies, and it's used in many different countries. The skin products from calendula are used to treat cuts and burns and skin irritation, and is still used medicinally. So it's been around a long time and probably is very effective because it's well known, and it's been around because it has been effective, basically. So it's also a common ingredient in German soups and stews, for example. It's been used in cooking for centuries.
Rick, quiero completar algo. ¿Puedes traducir?
Sí, Rick, por favor. Rick, I would like to say something additionally to what you're saying.
Lo sé de las plantas que se creen que son santas.
There is a belief that the plants are holy.
Pero para nosotros todas las plantas son santas.
But for us, all the plants are plants.
Son almas.
They are souls.
Y no hago la diferencia porque normalmente tiene las mismas cualidades como otra planta.
For me, there's no difference amongst them, and I don't find that there's any difference between one and the other.
Y digamos, sí, claro que es única.
Yes, of course, it is unique.
Pero lo de plantas santas es más por lo que creemos nosotros.
But talking about the sanctity of a plant is more of an idea that people have given to them.
Y por eso creo que hemos comprendido incorrecto.
And that's why I think we have a wrong perception.
Porque todas las plantas tienen alma.
Because all the plants have a soul.
Y no hay plantas buenas o plantas malas.
And there is no good or bad plants.
Y eso es lo que, digamos, comprendo ahora mismo, que soy ahora.
And that is something that I have become aware of at this time.
Y muchas gracias por eso.
And thank you so much for that.
Okay, does Giovanni like to go ahead with, I think he had another presentation?
Sí, Gianni, que si puedes mostrar las fotos de tus semillas.
Sí, y voy a empezar con lo que he compartido el otro día.
Yes, I'm going to start with what I shared in the past days.
Con las semillas que ya se puede ver.
You can see now the pictures of the seeds.
Que están, bueno, son semillas de trigo y lo que hace parte de la familia, arroz y otras.
These are seeds that I'm showing you that belong to the family of the wheats and the rices.
Después de estar en agua plasmática 24 horas.
Before of being submerged in plasmatic water for 24 hours.
He utilizado varias luces.
I've used several lights.
Y filtros de colores.
As well as color filters.
Porque normalmente con un microscopio normal no puedes ver eso.
Because normally you will not be able to see them on a regular microscope.
Lo puedes ver solo si utilizas otra luz.
You can see them if you use different types of lights.
Y claro, es rojo, azul y otros colores.
And the lights that I have used are red, blue, and other colors.
Y fui muy impresionado para ver que ni una semilla no es igual como otra.
I was mesmerized to see the fact that one seed doesn't look like another. Is that the wheat one? Is the seed of the wheat? ¿Esa es una semilla de trigo?
Trigo, sí.
Yeah, that's a wheat seed.
Bueno, no es solo una, son 5 o 6.
It's not only one, it's 5 or 6.
Porque ya se puede ver que cada una es diferente de las otras.
Because as you can see, one is different from the others.
Aquí es el dedo.
See, here you can see the finger.
También es el dedo, pero con otro color, claro.
Yeah, it's the finger, but with another color.
Y hecho para que se vean lo que pasan, digamos, aquí es la cabeza.
Here you can see the head.
Y aquí es la parte de atrás.
And that is the part, the end part, the rear.
Es maravilloso.
It's really wonderful.
Aquí tenemos una semilla de tomate.
Here is a seed of tomato.
Que es una semilla plasmática.
Which is a plasmatic seed.
Ok, voy a abrir otra carpeta con otras semillas.
Okay, I'm going to open another file with other seeds.
Como he dicho, tenemos muchísimas.
As I've told you, we have a lot.
Me gusta mucho mirarlo, sentirlo.
I love to watch them and feel them.
Y ver cómo crecen.
And see how they grow.
Ok. Voy a enseñar ahora semillas que estuve mirando los 5 días.
Now I'm going to show you seeds that I was watching for 5 days.
Todavía no tenemos los nombres en varios idiomas.
Yet we don't have the names in the different languages.
Pero algunas sí.
But in some we do.
Y por ejemplo, eso es una semilla de albahaca.
For example, this is a seed from basil.
Y hay varias especies de albahaca.
And there are various species of basil.
Por ejemplo, albahaca rojo.
For example, red basil,
albahaca blanca,
white basil,
limón,
lemon basil,
verde, grande, pequeño.
green, large and small.
Y ahora sí que tenemos 12 especies diferentes de albahaca.
And now we have 2 different species of basil.
Y la propuesta que ha dicho Peggy me encantan.
And the proposal that Peggy has mentioned, I love it.
Con la banca de las semillas.
With the bank of seeds.
Pero también vamos a compartirlo con todo el mundo, a regalarlo.
And we're going to share it with the entire world. We're going to gift it.
Aquí es otras semillas, ¿sí?
Here are other seeds.
¿Y por qué si lo compartimos con otras personas, otras almas?
If we're able to share it with other people and other souls.
Y regalándolo, pedimos solo que ellos también tienen que regalar a otros.
By gifting them, the only petition that we have is that they give them as well.
Y es posible y he visto eso, como crece el grupo de semillas del alma.
And I've seen how the group will grow, the people that share the seeds of the soul.
Claro, en un encuentro pasan 100, 150 personas.
Y Yanni, ¿puedes volver a repetir si me haces el favor?
Sí, en un encuentro de regalar semillas del alma pasa por ahí 100, 150 personas.
In the gatherings that we have had, in which we have had the opportunity of share these seeds of the soul, we have had people of about 100 to 150 coming through.
Cogen las semillas, lo utilizan.
They take the seeds that we are sharing.
Pero no quiere compartir con alguien.
But nobody wants to share them with anyone.
Y no pasa nada.
But there's not a problem.
Porque hay 2 o 3 o 4
because there's 2, 3 or 4
que lo hacen
that do it.
Y estamos creciendo.
And we're growing.
Que me encantan qué pasa con las semillas en el agua plasmática.
What I love the most about these plasmatic seeds
es lo que se ve, los campos que se ven aquí.
Is the fields that you see around them.
Y cuando trabajas con ellas,
and when you work with them,
puedes sentir alegría de la semilla que van a crecer, a ofrecer algo al mundo.
You experience the joy that these seeds have and share with you when they're going to grow in the world environment.
Y eso es maravilloso y otra vez gracias por eso.
That is wonderful and I'm very grateful for it. Thank you.
Paul, por favor, quiero hablar yo, ¿vale?
He's asking the dog to allow him to talk.
Para nosotros, bueno, para mí, una semilla es un universo completo y en equilibrio.
For me, a seed is a whole universe and in equilibrium or balance.
Ok, voy a abrir otra carpeta con después de 5 días.
I am going to show you another file of seeds after 5 days.
¿Ya se puede ver?
Can you see them? Sí, sí, yes.
Algunas de ellas son más pequeñas, pero intento pasar por ellos.
Some of them are smaller, but I'm going to show them to you.
Maybe he could magnify some of the pictures with the, thank you.
Excellent. Que
Okay.
sí.
Mira, aquí son dos almas. Es esta que apareció y la semilla.
Look, here we have two souls, this little one that appeared and the seed.
Y se sintió muy bien en el agua plasmática.
He was very happy in the plasmatic water.
Y nosotros nunca decimos de las insectas o otras cosas que son malas o no sé, ni lo sé cómo decirlo, porque solo son almas.
We never express in a bad way in regards to any insect. We don't even know how to address it because for us it's just one more soul.
Y tuvimos la oportunidad de dejarnos hacer fotos y vídeos con ellas.
They gave us the opportunity to make pictures and videos with their presence.
Eso como si intentas mirarlo con los ojos, no lo puedes ver con los ojos físicos.
If you try to look at this little creature with your own eyes, you can't do it.
Pero sí que puedes sentir el movimiento.
But you can feel the movement.
Y para mí fue como una invitación para mirarlo en el microscopio.
And for me, it was like an invitation to observe him through the microscope.
Es un poquito difícil para hacer una presentación.
It is a bit difficult to make a presentation.
Porque quiero enseñar todo y es difícil para elegir.
Because I will like to share everything, so I have a hard time electing what to share.
Ok, voy a abrir otra carpeta.
I'm going to open another file.
Y a ver, ¿dónde está?
Okay, let me look where it is.
Bueno, he encontrado algo maravilloso. Si queréis, puedo enseñar el aminoácido de cejas 3.
Okay, I have found something wonderful, and if you like, I will be able to share. It is something that I have found with the CH3.
Claro, si estás de acuerdo.
Of course, if you are in agreement. Rick? Rick?
Yeah, yes, of course, yes.
Que sí, por favor, procede.
Es que buscando las semillas ahora he encontrado eso y me acuerdo que es maravilloso.
Yes. I just found it in my files with the seeds, and I think it's wonderful.
¿Se puede ver? No.
Can you see? Yes, sí, se ve, sí, se ve.
Es maravilloso.
This is wonderful. ¿Quieres explicar qué estás mostrando? Porque vemos unas unas cosas muy lindas.
Es el aminoácido de CH3.
This is the amino acid of the CH3.
Empezando con ampliarlo con 1200 veces y hasta unos 10,000.
I have looked at it with an amplification between 1200 to 10,000 times.
Lo digo porque no estoy seguro lo del 10,000. He hecho unas modificaciones al microscopio.
Because I say I am not sure if it's 10,000 because I have had to do some modifications to the microscope.
Aquí es también el CH3 con filtro rojo y la luz infrarroja.
This is a picture of the CH3 with a red filter and red light. Infrarroja, ¿no? Infrared light.
Sí. Aquí azul.
Here is blue.
Y solo son filtros diferentes.
They're
He
just
utilizado muchos.
changing the filters. I have used a lot of them.
Y aquí es como una gotita muy pequeñita que casi no lo puedes ver con los ojos.
Here is just a little tiny drop that you can hardly see with your eyes.
Bueno, aquí es un hilo de cobre nanocubierto.
Here you can observe a piece of wire of copper nano covered.
Voy a abrir otra carpeta.
I'm going to open another file.
Y ahora quiero enseñar cómo se puede ver el mismo amino, bueno, el aminoácido, pero sin utilizar filtros y solo con el microscopio cómo se venden.
Okay, now I'm going to show you some pictures of the amino acid without the use of any filters and just using a normal microscope, sorry.
$1,200 veces.
1,200 times.
Y aquí he utilizado solo los luces del microscopio.
I have only used in this picture the lights of the microscope.
Aquí es aminoácido de cobre.
In here we have the aminos of the copper oxide.
Yes. Aquí es lo del CH3.
Here is the pictures of the CH3.
El aminoácido.
It's the amino acid.
Pido perdón que he salido de semillas al aminoácido. y los GANSes, pero me encantan y son maravillosas y creo que son uno mismo.
I apologize for getting out of the subject in reference to the seeds, but for me, it's a wonderful experience to watch and share these pictures of the amino acids.
Aquí es el aminoácido de CO2.
Here is the amino acid of CO2.
Y eso también.
This one too.
Ok, stop share. Intento poner las semillas otra vez.
I will share with you again some seeds. Yani, ¿tú tienes una cámara incorporada dentro del microscopio? Yani, you have a camera incorporated in the microscope?
Es un microscopio, bueno, no uno, tenemos dos microscopios digitales.
We have two microscopes that are digital.
Que puedes mirarlo sin microscopio y con microscopio, como quieres.
You can watch using the microscope or without it.
A ver. Si hay preguntas hasta cuando encuentro las semillas.
Please, if you have any questions until I am looking for the pictures of the seeds.
I have a question. This is Dean.
Yo tengo una pregunta, soy Dean.
Adelante.
Please, go forward.
Have you done tissue or plant cloning in order to...
Sorry, we only heard half of it. ¿Usted ha hecho algunas fotografías de tejidos en donde haya habido algún tipo de clonación, pero no terminó el resto? Dean, could you please repeat the rest of your question about this?
Oh, have you done cloning to increase your availability of plants to give away?
Okay, que si has hecho algún tipo de proceso de clonación para aumentar la cantidad de plantas que puedas compartir.
No comprendo.
Que si has usado como, que si has clonado para poder tener más cantidad.
No, nunca he pensado en eso.
No, he has never thought of it.
Okay.
Okay, adelante.
Please continue.
By cloning a plant, you can take cuttings and in a period of usually 5 days have a rooting of the mother plant.
Que a través del proceso de clonación puedes coger esquejes y plantarlos y en cuestión de 5 días tenerse que el esqueje haya creado sus raíces y puedes así aumentar la producción.
¿Eso es que se llama la clonación?
Sí, yeah. He's asking, he was not familiarized with the term cloning, and I guess that he has done it before. Sí, exacto.
Sí, claro que lo hacemos.
Yes, he uses that technique, yes.
Okay.
Y también hacemos otras cosas con cogemos las rosas de floristería o algún sitio donde alguien lo tiran.
We have done that process and others, like for example, we take the flowers, the cut flowers from florists or flowers that have been thrown away.
Y lo ponemos así como son cortadas en agua plasmática.
The way they're cut, we put them into plasmatic water.
Y tenemos una planta nueva.
And we have a new plant.
Hacen raíces.
They grow roots.
Y después de, digamos, 10, 15 días, los vamos a plantar.
And after 10 or 15 days, we will plant them.
Wow. Y sí que tenemos un montón de fotos y experiencias, y si os acordáis.
And yes, we have a lot of pictures and experiences, and if you remember.
En los testimoniales, me parece, del mes de octubre del año pasado.
In the testimonials of the month of October.
He presentado la vida en una botella.
I presented the life in a bottle.
Que hemos obtenido con la flor que se llama lila, me parece.
We shared the experiences that we had with the flower that is called lilac.
No lilac.
No? Lily.
Yes,
sorry,
yes,
lily.
Que hay tipos diferentes, lily imperial, lily del rey.
That we have different varieties like imperial, the king.
Y le hemos cortado uno solo.
We have cut one.
Y después de caerse las flores.
And after the flowers have fallen.
Han hecho 10 niños, digamos.
¿Han nacido?
Han hecho 10, yo lo llamo niños de la misma planta.
O sea, salieron 10 hijitos, ¿correcto? We had about 10 little sprouts. Okay, he uses the word childs from the plant.
En el bote con agua plasmática de CO2, CNO y un poquito de CH3.
In the container that we put some CO2, zinc, and a little bit of CH3.
Aquí en el video ya sabéis es la hada.
As you can see in this video, here we have the fairy.
La hada de albahaca, como hemos dicho.
We call it the basil fairy.
Y con las mayorías de las semillas pasa lo mismo.
With the majority of the seeds, this happens.
Aparecen almas que trabajan en la estructura.
We can see souls that work in this structure.
Eso también fue un regalo para nosotros.
This was also a beautiful present to us.
Para ver esta vida cómo trabaja.
So we could observe how life works.
I have one more question.
Yo tengo una pregunta adicional.
Yes, adelante.
Please continue.
You have the ability to do the work in the next month to find out what type of interaction has with growing fungus. I put a link in the chat, and you can get spawn, and if we can communicate, and I can send you information on what you could use. But with coffee grounds and a spawn, as soon as you had brewed a cup of coffee, you have the substrates that would grow the mushroom. And,
okay, hold on, sir, please, excuse me.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Estoy preguntando que si tienes la disponibilidad de un mes en el futuro para que él pueda compartir, para que tengas la oportunidad de crecer los diferentes hongos y que él dice que te puso un link en el chat en donde puedes conseguir la información y que para él sería muy interesante poder compartir contigo esta información y como que desarrollar algún proyecto al respecto. Ahora le voy a pedir que me repita una parte porque no la entendí. Would you be so kind and repeat when you started speaking about that that you were going while you were brewing a cup of coffee, the words
Yes,
before?
yes.
I didn't understand them, please.
Okay. Coffee grounds, after it has been brewed,
yes,
are ready to plant mushrooms.
Ok, él está diciendo que él utiliza la borra del café. ¿Sabes lo que es la palabra borra?
Sí.
Ok, que él utiliza la borra de café después de que ha sido utilizada en la preparación del café como medio para plantar las semillas de hongos o de champiñones. Ok, sir, go ahead, please.
And he can order spawn a little for growing a mushroom patch.
Ok, y que puedes pedir y ordenar este spawn que no sé cómo se llame, pero es el medio por medio del cual tú puedes utilizar para sembrar los hongos. Ok.
Sí.
Then all he has to do is put the mushroom patch material into the coffee grounds.
Y que lo único que tienes que hacer es coger objeto que te han enviado con las semillas de los champiñones y ponerlo dentro de la borra del café para plantarlo. ¿Ok?
And see what happens with and without using the plasma fields, because he'll know in 14 to 16 days what happens.
Ok, y que de esta manera puedas hacer experimentos utilizando el agua de plasma y sin ella, y que vas, usando los campos, y que más o menos entre alrededor de unos 15 días vas a poder observar lo que pasa.
Yeah,
okay.
that's. And if I'll get some links in there so that you know where you can get it. I have one already in the chat. And I'll put another couple videos, which will put you in a good direction.
Ok, que él va a darte información en donde puedes conseguir esto, que ya puso un link, un enlace en el chat y que va también a proporcionarte otros. So you're inviting him to do this experiment so you too can share your knowledge in that respect. Estoy preguntando que si te está invitando a que hagas estos experimentos para que él pueda compartir contigo estas experiencias.
I don't have the GANS here. I have not been working on creating that, so I don't have the materials to do it myself.
Aquí dice que él en este momento no tiene los GANSes, que no tiene los materiales para producirlo. Continue, please.
Un momento, por favor.
Jani, request a minute, please.
¿En qué país vives?
What country do you live in?
California, United States.
He lives in California.
Es un poco lejos.
He says that it's a little bit far.
Yes, it is.
Porque no te mandaba los ganses y los materiales para hacer ganses.
If not, he will send you some ganses as well as materials to produce them.
Fabulous. Now, the experiment that I would propose is, because coffee grounds and brewing coffee is pretty much universal, and it would be an experiment that people could do anywhere, and it can be controlled, so we have a good statistical knowledge of what's happening.
Okay, so he's, dice que porque el colar café, además de poder tener la borra como un subproducto de este proceso, permite crear un ambiente muy bueno para el crecimiento de estos hongos y que a su vez te va a permitir crear un medio de control muy eficiente para poder observar el comportamiento de los mismos. Okay.
That's about all I have, except, I guess, getting an address, and I'll put some links in there. And Giovanni, I appreciate what you've done.
que eso es todo lo que tiene que decirte y que tiene mucho gusto si le das una dirección de internet para que él te pueda compartir otros enlaces y que te agradece mucho tu trabajo y participación.
Ok, voy a escribir en el chat.
He's going to write in the chat his address where you can contact him.
And
Yeah.
fabulous. Gracias.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Quiero decir una cosa.
I would like to say something.
Como hemos dicho antes, nosotros no tiramos nada.
Because I have mentioned before, we do not throw anything.
Con lo del café le estamos utilizando de toda la vida con las plantas.
With in respect to the coffee, we have never wasted anything and we're using it, applying it to the plants.
Porque me gusta el café, a Jessa también, a Nico y a los otros.
Because I love coffee as well as Adiesa, Nico, and the rest.
Y nosotros lo que hacemos...
Un momento.
Sí, sí.
I was promoted to panelist, so I missed what you have said.
Oh, okay. He said that he has the habit of not disposing of anything, any materials, and he uses the coffee brew or the leftover of the coffee and he applies it to his plants. And that all his friends, he named Nico and him and the people that surround him, that they all share the coffee and share the materials that they obtain from that. Okay.
Oh, this is so beautiful because everybody who leaves can leave with the material to put in their ground and enrich it. I had an opportunity to get how to grow these type of mushrooms into village by village in Africa. And this is beautiful. I love it. We get to change the world, guys.
Okay, allow me to. Okay, está diciendo que él ha tenido la oportunidad de tener pues las borras del café y que a través de ella él ha podido cultivar distintos tipos de hongos y que él implementó este proceso en varios pueblos en el África y luego muy contento y lleno de euforia dice, esto es maravilloso, lo amo, así todos podemos cambiar el mundo.
Muchas gracias y lo sé qué significa eso porque estoy cogiendo, bueno, digamos, hongos del bosque de cuando tenía 5 o 6 años.
Okay, he says that he's very happy to hear you and that he also wants to share that he has been collecting mushrooms from the age of 5 or 6.
Y también he participado a cultivarlo debajo del casa.
And I have also used it by planting them underneath our home.
Y es maravilloso.
And he finds it marvelous.
Y gracias por la idea.
Thank you very much for your idea.
Y al final del mes me voy a Francia.
Come on.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay,
al final del mes me voy a Francia a trabajar con Úrsula.
I am going to go at the end of the month to work with Ursula in her oasis, no? Ursula is creating a special place.
Yes, en el oasis. Y claro que me voy con todo, con el microscopio y que es necesario.
I'm going to be traveling with all my equipment and everything that is necessary.
Y si es posible, lo vamos a hacer juntos con las almas que van a participar para crear el oasis.
And if it's possible, we're going to be there to share with all the souls that want to create this oasis.
Diga.
Go ahead.
Do you have an autoclave for sterilizing?
Si tienes un autoclave para esterilizar.
No, pero tengo imaginación y puedo construirla.
And he doesn't, but he has a lot of imagination and he can build one.
Does he have a pressure cooker?
Que si tienes una olla a presión.
Sí.
Yes.
That'll work.
Que con eso es suficiente.
Ya lo sé cómo se hacen.
Que yes, he knows how to do it.
Porque he preparado el material para los hongos.
Because he has prepared the material for the mushrooms.
Pero, por favor, si tienes experiencias en eso, quiero que lo compartes con nosotros porque es maravilloso.
But if you have experience in that field, he would love for you to share it with everyone.
¿Y cuánto tiempo? Un momento. ¿Cuánto tiempo vas a hablar? Voy a poner más y más semillas.
So by the time that you share with us your knowledge, he will be looking for more seeds, pictures.
I will put together a playlist, and so that a person can go through it and step by step see how it's done and duplicate it.
Okay, dice que tiene mucho gusto de juntar y hacer una lista de todos los pasos a seguir de manera que cualquiera lo pueda hacer.
Mil gracias por eso.
Thank you very much for that.
I got a question.
La señora Carolina tiene una pregunta. Go ahead, Carolina.
Are you working with Dr. Gatwa?
Sorry, could you say that again? You got cut.
Are you working with Dr. Gatwa in the agriculture side? Or are you in the classroom?
Si estás trabajando con el señor. Oh, excuse me, you're asking Gianni or the gentleman?
Yeah, Gianni.
Okay, Gianni. Carolina pregunta si tú estás trabajando con el doctor Gatwa en la plataforma de agricultura.
No, pero he mirado algunos de los trabajos del doctor Gatwa y me encantan.
No, but I have watched some of the work that Dr. Gatwa is doing and I love it.
Would it be able for you to go through our website and put the application through to become part of the agriculture?
Sí, por favor, podrías entrar a la página web de la fundación y inscribirte en el departamento de agricultura, por favor.
Ok, de acuerdo.
Yes.
Y muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
And see if when you do your application, ask if there is a possibility of translation. If not, maybe Jeanette can come in as a translator, or Ursula, because you and Ursula might become a team. So you're going to have to speak to the education board to see how they can sort this problem out.
Okay, que por favor, que cuando hagas tu aplicación, si necesitas que sea traducida, por favor me contactes, o si quieres también contactar a Úrsula para que de alguna manera se te dé la asistencia en términos de la traducción y que de esta manera puedas entrar a participar en el programa. Y que también que puedas hacer un equipo muy importante con Úrsula.
Because Mr. Keshe was present last week with your presentation, so he's aware of the work, and he's also aware of Ursula, her work. So maybe the two of you can join the agriculture department. In the private teaching, it's a separate class, and see, talk to Danny or talk to Flint, whoever you know, or if you don't get your way, contact me in Messenger or in Zoom or in Telegram, and we'll sort something out.
Okay, dice que ella quiere que tú participes, que el señor Keshe tuvo la oportunidad de escuchar tu presentación la semana pasada y que ella quiere que participes dentro de la plataforma de agricultura, que bien sea que si tienes cualquier inconveniente en hacerlo, que la contactes a ella a través de el método que tengas, bien sea el Zoom, el Telegrama, el WhatsApp, cualquier medio que necesites para que puedas entrar en contacto con ella, para que ella también te ayude a crear, para poder entrar a la fundación. Igualmente que pues con Úrsula.
Or if you have direct contact with Dr. Gatwa, he can also do the necessary arrangements.
Y que si tienes un contacto directo con el doctor Gatwa, que entonces con él puedas hacer los arreglos necesarios para ingresar.
One thing I would like to add to what you explained about the plants, that they are no different. They all carry a soul. That is correct.
Una de las cosas que quiero corroborar es cuando estuviste explicando el tema de las almas dentro de las plantas. Está completamente de acuerdo contigo de que todas son almas igual, tienen la misma categoría. ¿Y quiere agregar algo más? Continue, please.
I noticed that Dr. Gatwa has put an email in the chat room, so you can pick it up. And I know Ursula cannot make it today. Maybe she will come in later on. But please pass it on to Ursula, this email or contact address.
Okay, dice que que te han pasado en el chat un email y que Úrsula no ha podido estar hoy presente, pero que de todas maneras la contactes y se lo pases a ella también.
Okay, thank you, Carolina.
There is, you're welcome. There is one thing which is very important to carry on the explanation that the plants have the soul. What I have learned over the years with Mr. Keshe is, like instant with, I am very fond of lavender and the essential oils of it. I apply them in many different ways. It's one of the only essential oils which can be applied directly into open wounds without causing no harm or damage. It is an amazing plant. It's an amazing being. And I nourish it and I care a lot for it. But one thing I have learned is that Mr. Keshe, the first thing he says is you go and look at the properties of the plant.
Would you be so kind and stop? Caroline, please. I'll apologize. Dice que, ¿sí?
He comprendido todo.
¿Todo?
Y
Ok, fantástico.
que cuando habla Carolina, Mr. Keshe, Ginette, Úrsula y alguien, ya sí que comprendo sin necesitar la traducción.
Ok, fantástico.
Sí que es verdad, pero puedes traducir, por favor.
Ok, bueno, pero si quieres, si le entiendes, no hay problema. Déjalo así para que no haya tanta demora. No, he says that he is understanding everything perfectly when you speak on Mr. Keshe or Ursula Y, and that he has understood perfectly. So I was telling him, then he said, but if you want, you can translate. I said, no, if you're understanding, I think there's no need, so that way we can flow at a faster pace.
Sí, y lo quiero, bueno, diga.
The reason why is you have to go and look up the structure, the atomic structure of the plants. I will have a look if I have one of the pictures, because I had to do a research and Mr. Keshe was just shocked because it was about lavender. And there are so many properties about lavender. I don't know if I still have it in my... Just give me 1 second, please.
¿Entendiste?
There are so many different variations in lavender that it is absolutely shocking, the properties of lavender on its own. And then he said, no wonder it is working everywhere. Yes,
Confirmo lo que dice Carolina.
Just 1 second.
Perdón.
You see, that's what you have to go and look for. The H, I cannot see everything, H3C, H3C, OH, you know, you got to go and look at these. So you have to go for the chemical structure to understand the bindings, why it is working. Otherwise, that is one of the reasons with depth of the understanding. So this is what you have to do. You got to go to this particular one here, because that tells you why it is working, because of the connections and the bindings. And that is the understanding of the plant. But because you don't have one type of lavender, you have different ones. This is another one here. And it contains eucalyptol, camphor. You see, it gives you all the information you need. When you want to know a plant, that's the way to go. And this is what I've learned from Mr. Keshe. And in the meantime, I would love to share you. I tried to crop them. I tried to clean them up a little bit. Just 1 second. And there we go. These are the seeds which I spoke about. I'm already 2 days further down the line, and look, they have gone to 4 centimeters now. So these have not been soaked in the GANS water. I just watered them with the GANS water. And these are coming a little bit later. Sorry for the fuzziness of the picture. And these have just, normally these kind of seeds come 3 weeks. This is 2 days later than the first lot. And these had 3 leaves. I didn't even get a chance to take pictures. I'm so busy. And by the time I came back to the plant, they are full of leaves. And that in 2 days. I just got them. These are fruit bushes with blueberry and sticky, I don't know, stekelbas in Netherlands. I don't know the name. I do apologize. And just, they had a few spritz of leaves, and now they're already, and I can't put them out because of the weather condition. And this is my orchid. And you see, these are the original stamps. And they are giving me flowers from the original stamp, which is, I never seen them doing this before. Usually the stamp dies off. And you can see here, this one here in the middle starts as well. And the right one, which was not on the picture, has already started with the same knot. And this is something which I like to share with all of you to stimulate the butterflies, to plant this kind of flower range in your garden. You don't need many of them. And these are to stimulate the bees. And they just need a little corner in your garden or in a plant pot if you don't have a garden, or on your balcony. And these are my amaryllis, my 3 flowers, which I had within a week. The plants came home, I started watering them, and they just, that's how grateful they were. Most probably that they were back home with me. So there is more wisdom in a plant than just the soul. The wisdom is to understand the composition the same way as you got to understand why and how your ganses are working, into what to apply them, and where the benefit sits. So I do remember all of you, remind you please, next week on the soul teaching, in the private teaching, we will go extensive on the cup of life, which will support the first knowledge seekers if they get it right, that you don't need to seed, you don't need to grow, you don't need to consume, and you can stay away from hurting other souls. And I thank you for your presentation, and I thank Jeanette for your translation very much. And people will come when the time is right. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, I said to Rick, I said, it is amazing. It comes in the German private teaching. I just simply asked myself, well, why the 4 GANSes to make the food tower? I said, oh, that's something we should ask Mr. Keshe. And then in my private classroom, Mr. Keshe popped up on last Wednesday, and I asked him the question. And then he starts, yeah, but this is not a complete cup of life. He says, I have explained it before, but not many people most probably have understood, or the time is not right. So he opened up more information. And then yesterday in the soul teaching, it just came about again. And I am stimulating for the knowledge, for the cup of life, because that will be the only way we will be able to walk away, but not only walking away in that way or that sense, but to be able to supply the people which cannot grow anything anymore because of the conditions, because of what is going on, because of the stress and the economical impossibilities, that we can supply them with a simple way that we first are going to explore, apply, come back with the results, and then we can ship them. Because I saw in one of the texts, somebody said, yeah, we should be able to make a kit. Yes, please. Create a plasma kit. Make them ready, that when the time is right, you can hand them out. Don't stand still. I requested for solutions for the plastic. I hope we will receive the feedback on those very fast, because it really becomes very critical. In a lot of parts of the world, it's not consumption if possible.
Sorry, we missed part of that last sentence, Carolina.
To reduce the plastic consumption yourself. Wherever you can, try to reduce it or try to be creative. Something I noticed as well, and a lot of people are not aware of it. I tried to put the warnings out before, but it never landed on this platform or in the private classes. And that is, Peggy sent me something. And it was a road which was built of plastic. And my immediate reaction was, please do not use plastic waste for reconstructing anything to live in, that you have to breathe it, because they are releasing their toxins with the changes of the temperatures and the conditions of the environment. The same goes with the tires, old tires from the cars, trucks, which they think it's a good idea to recycle it and build houses for people to stay in there. Please understand what is within those materials. You definitely do not want to inhale what comes as a release of the change of the temperature, especially when the heat of the sun sits on it. There are even, to make it more clear, on certain plastic bottles, it is mentioned by law, they have to that you have to be careful. They are releasing certain hormones. That brings us back to the topic when Mr. Keshe was sharing in England with the recycling of the water, that ladies, you take the pill, which makes you infertile temporarily, but those same hormones go through the discharge of the water into the water system, gets recycled and goes back into wherever it's consumed. So the same counts with the plastic bottles. They contain not such a good thing. Another good thing to bring on the table is with your cars, it has been circulating around for a lot of people. The summer will start coming on, or the spring first, and then the summer, the heat. Please open your car before you go into your car. Let the car to breathe fresh air, because whatever your interior of your car is made of, is the same problem, because the sun has been sitting on your car, especially when it's very hot. Open the windows, open the doors, let the air circulate to get the toxins out of the car before you go into the car. Don't leave no water bottles in a car which is getting heated, because then the toxins are released in the water you're about to drink. It is much safer to use glass than plastic bottle. So maybe it might be a hint to keep yourself safe for a lot of problems.
Carolina, it's Peggy. I have a question. That since you brought this up about not using the plastic bottles, and yes, that is very important because it does go into the water. But I've been wondering, are stainless steel bottles okay to hold the plasma water? That's something that I've wondered. So thank you for bringing this up so I could ask the question.
What did you say exactly, darling?
Stainless steel water bottles instead of glass or plastic.
No,
the plasma waters is no good in there, correct? Or it is?
No. We keep all our plasma waters in the Coca-Cola bottles or in glass. No metal should come around anywhere, because our plasma kits are made from plastic. They always are glass containers or plastic.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Always in glass containers.
Carolina, por favor, ¿puedes traducir, Ginette, lo que has dicho en castellano, por favor?
Carolina, Gianni is requesting if I can translate what you just said.
Yes.
Sí. ¿Desde dónde, Gianni? ¿Desde dónde necesitas traducción?
Solo la última parte, porque es muy importante, ¿no? Para mí y para todos los que comprenden el español. Gracias.
Ok, con gusto. Ella está diciendo, la señora Peggy le hizo una pregunta con respecto a si se podía utilizar el aluminio para guardar los ganses, y ella le ha respondido que no, que todos estos materiales no se deben utilizar, que lo único que ella utiliza es las botellas de Coca-Cola o botellas de vidrio para almacenar los ganses, porque todas las demás de una forma u otra sueltan sustancias que no son compatibles. I just mentioned what you said, Carolina, about you use Coca-Cola bottles as well as glass to store your ganses, and that any other material will release chemicals that are not compatible with the ganses.
Okay, muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, when you produce your ganses in the production stage, you keep your gases away from one another and you keep them very warm. The success of having a good production in GANS is to keep them warm, minimum 25 degrees room temperature. Once your gases are produced and you have washed them, then you can store them next to one another. But as long as they are in production, the fields are interacting with one another. It's very difficult to keep them completely separate and away from one another. But don't worry too much about that, but try not to put them, unless you want to create the gases in a sequence. But if you want to have pure GANs, as pure as possible, you got to keep them away. They interact with one another because you don't work with the matter state. You always have to work with the field strength. And they interact, they mix.
Okay, let her do some translating on that if we still...
Yes, I will. Okay. Yani, la señora Kesh dice que cuando estés produciendo los ganses, que los mantengas separados uno del otro y en una temperatura tibia, que alrededor de unos 25 grados centígrados, porque dice que en el momento en que los estás produciendo es muy importante que ellos se mantengan independientes cada uno del otro, porque al estar trabajando a nivel plasmático, los campos que se están produciendo interactúan unos con otros, que en el único momento que los debes poner juntos es si deseas crear alguna interacción en serie para algún fin específico, que si no los mantengas separados. Igualmente dice que una vez se jueguen los ganses, ya en ese momento puedes poner las botellas juntas, pero antes no lo debes hacer, porque ella vuelve y explica que dentro de la producción plasmática hay una interacción dentro de los campos y que ellos se mezclan.
The same counts, please. The same counts for your nano-coating process. Once your box is closed, that you have added your hot boiling water on top of your caustic soda and the lid is closed, you place that container within another container because it always releases some of the water because of the chemical reaction. But I cover and I pack my box with old towels and keep it very warm and near a radiator or a heat source. I nano-coated Sunday, and we are Tuesday. My box is still warm. So the longer you can keep it at a high temperature, the better your nano-coating process takes place as well.
Okay, so she's saying, ella dice que igual recomienda cuando se estén haciendo procesos de nanocobertura que se ponga la caja que se está utilizando dentro de otra caja para poder aislar cualquier tipo de vapores que se despidan del proceso, ya que al ponerle el agua caliente sobre la soda, la reacción produce una cantidad de vapor que puede ser tóxica. Igualmente ella recomienda que cuando se esté haciendo estos procesos de nanocobertura se cubran con toallas para mantener el calor y en lo posible se pongan cerca de un radiador para que de esta manera se pueda extender el calor y la temperatura en el proceso en este proceso. Ella dice que inclusive ella se ha dado cuenta que pasados 4 o 5 días aún ella toca las cajas y puede sentir que están tibias. Okay.
You're welcome.
Carolina, tengo una pregunta.
I have a question, Carolina. Prosigue.
Yes.
las probetas que se utiliza en los laboratorios, que son de plásticos, ¿cómo te parecen?
What do you think about the test tubes that are used in laboratories that are from plastic? Do you think that they're appropriate to be used? Perdimos la conexión. We lost the connection.
Hello, Carolina, are you there? Come in, Carolina, over. And we're not hearing you yet. Oh, she popped out. Okay, well, bear with us a minute, and I'm sure she'll come back in. Hey, Flint, this is where you get to sing that new song you're working on.
Yeah, what new song?
What wasn't that row, row, row your boat?
Oh yeah.
Gently while you stream.
No, it was Old MacDonald Has a Farm.
Hello, Carolina. It must be you coming in. Hello? Here's the microphone action there. Are you there?
Not mine.
Oh, okay.
I am here. I think it's your microphone, Rick.
No, it's Estella, actually. Did you want to speak, Estella? I think she accidentally opened her microphone. I'll mute her. Okay, go ahead, Caroline.
I thought Jeanette wanted to ask something.
Yes, Carolina. Yanni is asking you, what do you think about the usage of the test tubes that they use in laboratories made out of plastic? Do you think that this is appropriate to be used in the process?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Sí, no hay ningún problema.
Gracias. Y la pregunta es
Those
por
are
qué.
small tubes.
Sorry.
You can also glass, but you break them easier.
Puedes utilizar el vidrio, pero se rompen fácilmente.
Sí, he preguntado porque he utilizado las probetas de vidrio, pero también lo del plástico.
I'm asking you because I use both the plastic and the glass test tubes.
Y con las probetas de plástico me parecen que es más fuerte, más potente.
When I use the plastic tubes,
yes,
I find that they're stronger. Que sí.
Yes, because you remember the teaching about Mr. Keshe when he says we use the bottleneck of the Coca-Cola because of the carbon composition. Your gases are taking the field strength out of the plastic.
Ok, please. Que dice que por favor si recuerda las enseñanzas del señor Keshe con respecto a los procesos cuando utilizó la botella de Coca-Cola, por el hecho de que la botella de Coca-Cola está hecha de plástico y el plástico contiene carbono que crea una reacción cuando se están produciendo los gases.
Thank you.
Could you repeat please because you were cut off? The last words.
I'm sorry. It must be my connection, which is not so good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna switch system. Just give me 1 second, because otherwise we're gonna keep on getting cut off. It's the time of the day that people start going on the network and then my goes crippled. So I need to switch. Just 1 second, please. I will be back in a second.
¿Entendiste? Que va a cambiar el sistema porque el internet en este momento está sobresaturado por la cantidad de personas que entran al sistema y que para ella es mejor si ella se sale y vuelve a entrar cambiando la línea.
Yep, I'm back.
Sí, gracias Carolina. Y tengo otra pregunta.
Thank you, Caroline. I have another question.
Yes.
Si yo pongo los reactores de CO2 juntos, ¿pasa algo?
What is it wrong to put two reactors of CO2 together? He didn't say wrong, but is it correct if I put the two boxes together when I'm producing the gases?
That's no problem. You have different options. You can or put the 4 gases, CO, CH3, zinc, and CH3 in different parts of the house and keep them completely separate. But you can put 3, 4 GANS stations of the same GANS within the same corner, or you can create a sequence of GANSes, which let's say the setup is CO2, zinc, CO, and CH3, one after another, and you can even interconnect them with one another. That gives the energy flow among the GANSes and they're feeding themselves. Also, your whole environment in your room changes because the 4 GANSes, as they are producing, they are interacting with one another in a completely different way. So each one of the 4 carries one of the others. Or
Oh, sorry, please. I apologize. Just one second, please. She said, dice que tú tienes varios métodos para producir los ganses. El primero es que cuando vas a producir los 4 ganses básicos, que son el CO2, el CO, el zinc y el CH3, los pones en lugares separados dentro de la casa o del espacio físico donde lo vayas a hacer. Hay otro sistema en el cual tú puedes poner 3 o 4 ganses de la misma, del mismo producto juntos. Y luego hay una tercera opción en la cual tú vas a hacer una secuencia de los ganses. Por ejemplo, puedes poner el CO2, zinc, el óxido cúprico o el metilo, y entonces en esta postura vas a encontrar que vas a tener una interacción dentro del flujo de los campos que están ocurriendo en ese momento, y que a su vez tú vas a poder con esto crear un producto particular o específico. Please, Carolina, carry on.
Any more questions?
¿Alguna otra pregunta?
You see, there was a question. From Mark. Mark asks, Carolina, do you rinse the glass after nano coating?
It depends how you nano coat it and what you're going to put in it. If it's nano coated through the caustic system, yes, you always rinse because you don't get rid of your nano coating layer anymore. The funny thing is, if people stand still and you work into the wisdom of the field strength, let's say you have filled up bottle with, I'm going to take 2 extremes because they leave their traces very adamant behind on the bottle. If I fill up a Coca-Cola bottle with CH3 or CO with the GANSes and water, and I empty them completely and I even wash them, the bottle will carry for the rest of its existence all the fields from that GANS which was in it. Because the bottle has absorbed the fields of that GANS. It doesn't matter which GANS you have put in it, when you put another GANS in it, then you have two GANSes present in that bottle. Let's say you emptied it, you washed it, and then you add, let's say in your CH3 bottle, CO2. That bottle carries the two GANSes, the CH3 and the CO2, because the bottle does not lose the properties of the first GANS you put in. So that's where, when you have, let's say, a really bad situation and you have not sufficient enough GANSes, but you have had those GANSes in certain bottles, when you empty them completely and you refill them, you can pass those bottles on and they will carry for months and months on end the field strength and will pass it on to the water. They are very strong. And as you said, by noticing that your plastic bottles are working better than the glass bottles, is because they have absorbed, they have interacted with one another, and they keep on releasing their fields. So as long as that Coca-Cola bottle is existing, and let's say it was from the CH3, you can pass it on to any person. It will still release the field strengths to the water and function in that way. So you don't need to even to lose your GANSes in stress situations. By simply filling them up, let's say for a few hours, and then empty them, and then fill them up with clean water and pass them on, you are passing the GANS plasma fields on to the other person, so he can survive on it. First the other one, darling. And then I will finish the other one. Yes, it's open. So it's a wisdom, don't throw your bottles away once you have used them for GANSes. They are very valuable for you to give them as a gift to somebody else to pass the fields on.
Mark asks, what's the other way to nano-coat glass if not using caustic?
Steam. Or just pour, let's say you need to nano-coat them with CO2, just fill them up with the CO2, shake it, and then empty the bottle, and your glass is nano-coated. People are underestimating that they're working with the field strength. The field strength goes everywhere. If I could put a filter on your house of each knowledge seeker which is working and nano-coating and creating GANSes and whatever you're making, you are beaming like a light. And you're reaching very, 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 very far. Further than you even can imagine. You know, on a clear day, and you have some cloud formations, just start paying attention what happens above your head, above your house, where you live. It's usually always very sunny and very bright. And start paying attention to your clocks. Put clocks, if you can, in each different room you have, and start observing your clocks, your time. Especially when you're a very intensive nano-coater and you work and you create and you build, you will see the difference. We reported that quite a few times when we are present in the lab. When we come outside, to us it's like we just had 1 hour of work, and when we come outside, 5-6 hours have passed and we are not even aware of it. But it's like we had so much work done in such a short time, but actually we were absent for 5 hours. It's amazing. Any more questions?
Well, we should think about wrapping up maybe for today. It's been nearly 4 hours. Lots of great information coming out, and it looks like some new collaboration as well with this this whole mushroom thing and the various work going on the agricultural side, especially, which is of course connected to the health side, which is connected to the peace side, which is connected to the space side. It's all connected.
For a lot of students, try to be present in the private teachings, like the soul teaching, my teaching. Unfortunately, today's platform, Mr. Keshe didn't pop up, but Mr. Keshe appears quite frequently in the private teachings, and a lot of additional information is getting released. And if I post it out, I notify a lot of people when Mr. Keshe walks in, for people to walk in. But I get a lot of response, where do we go? I am not a student. So please post the address where people can apply to become a student. You're more than welcome. We have nearly 300 teachings public without this platform coming in, which is now, I do not know what number we are in, Flint or Rick?
Today, you mean? It's the 70th?
70 today?
70, yes.
Oh my God.
Some sort of anniversary.
Carolina, it's Peggy. I did put the link for applying for private classes into our chat.
Thank you very much. And don't hesitate.
I just want to, can I say something about agriculture?
Yes, go ahead, Estella.
It's quick. So I have CO2, which I made last summer, and it's still working. I'm amazed. So I learned which plants from the kitchen you can still, reuse it, like keep them alive. So I've been choosing celery. So I cut the bottom part, I didn't throw away, and I put in CO2. Well, now I have like 7 little, they look like palm trees. They are growing crazy in the last 2 weeks in CO2. And inside my house, it's really cold here in California. And, so I'm kind of proud because they look so happy. And I didn't throw them away, and I'm planning to plant them outside and within the month once the weather allows. And so, yeah, the same you can do with garlic and, stuff that in the kitchen, instead to throw away, you can put it back in the soil.
That's a good suggestion. I just last night put a celery root part into my compost, but I'm just thinking, wow, why don't I just plant that in some CO2 water?
I have a picture.
See what happens.
I have a picture, but I couldn't put it in the chat.
No, you can't put it in the chat. You would have to share it. Unless you have it online somewhere, you can share the link.
No, I have it in my phone and right now on my screen. I mean, it's just a simple picture, but it looks really nice.
Well, if you want to share it, you could do the hit the share button and then select the picture.
Which one is the share button?
It should be a green button somewhere in the bottom of your Zoom screen. Maybe at the top. I'm not sure where it is on the iPhone.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm not very knowledgeable
Never
on this,
mind.
but
Or
another time.
Another time. You could send me the picture and I can share it as well if we wanted to do that later.
I will share you mine. Maybe it will give you an idea what she's doing, because I just did the same thing yesterday. Actually, no, 2 days ago. I shared them with you. I think they will look like this when you brought them in. I just brought them the ones in from my garden as well, which they were no longer buried under the snow. There you go. And they're shooting up, and that's 2 days. They just come back up. I gave them a chance. These are the old pots. You can see the dead leaves. Once the snow was gone, I think it was Sunday, I brought them in and I just start watering them and just look at them. It's amazing. And this is the other one. You see how bad they are, but you see the greens start coming up here. So they are not dead. They just went into like a hibernation. And this is rosemary. And the first one here is citronmelisse, parsley, daslook, another parsley, and the other two here, I don't really know what they are, so I have to wait to see what will come up. It will be a surprise, but I had the same thing in mind to say, why not giving them a chance to get back to life? And they are coming back. Is that the same experience you had, Estella?
Yes. I just have those in water and CO2 in a little glass container by the window.
I did. I just brought the pot in the way it was, cleared a little bit of the rubbish off and the dead leaves, and I just watered them with my mixture, the same as I'm feeding my new ones and the seeds, and they just respond within 2 days.
Oh yeah, and I would say a little bit more, like 3 or 4 days, because you know, I mean, I kind of put the intention. I didn't want to throw them away. I said I want to keep you alive, and I want you to stay with me. So, yep. And then also I have some avocados, which my weather is not really good for avocados, but I love them. So hopefully something happened.
So anybody more questions, or we gonna close it down for today?
I have one more question. Estella, what part of California do you live in?
I live by the gold country. I live in the 2,200 feet in the by Georgetown. It's the last town before you go into the forest. It's like a small town.
I've hiked it.
Yeah.
I've been there too.
Okay. Well, you're not far from
used to gold pen in that area. In fact, in 1982, I was the Tri-County gold panning champion in the 3 counties in that area in Gold Country, California, Northern California.
Which I also want to share. It's full of crystals. So I don't know, but there is some kind of magic there because I spend a lot of time outside.
It's a very powerful area, no doubt about it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a lot of gold in the area and other minerals.
I'm glad you're so close because I think we can work together too.
I would love to. I've been looking.
I live in Kingsburg, Sun-Made Raisin, Fresno.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're like within an hour. I would say 1 hour or 2 hours.
Yeah, hour and a half, and it's a beautiful place to go up and have a picnic.
Well, sounds good. We should start.
Sounds like a collaboration.
Oh,
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is. Okay, fabulous. This is beautiful. Yeah. I put my telephone number in the chat to you.
Yeah, by the way, it's best to you guys that we don't exchange personal information in the chat because it gets recorded in the Zoom chat forever, and it's not good to. It's also, yeah, all the chats are recorded, and it's also exposed to all the panelists and sometimes attendees, depending what you click on and so on.
Oh, I thought
it's best to interact with outside of the Zoom chat through the Zoom personal chat, or you can use.
Well, that's what I did. It was personally to her.
No, it went to all the panelists.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
Or at least hers did. I'm not sure if yours. Yeah, yours did as well. Both of them went to all the panelists. So just to be aware of that. Right. You can select the private. There is a private where it just goes to the person rather than the person plus the panelists. Or
yeah, that's what I thought I did, but well, anyway. If anybody gets it and they like what they've heard and we can interact together in the plasmatic fields of love, I'd say there's got to be a reason that it went out there this time.
Absolutely.
So peace be with you all. I love you guys. Love to create together.
Thank you to all. Thank you, Yanni. Beautiful information.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you all.
I posted some additional information for tomorrow's afternoon teaching for the people who can attend the meeting and maybe do some prepare listening to this teaching. The link is there. So you got all the information needed. I hope Mr. Keshe will walk in and extend on this information. And it's about, Mr. Keshe is talking about UFOs and how it's a ship to keep the fields constant inside so the occupants can live in it with their form from where they originate with on a different planet. And that is the first few minutes after the 2-hour mark. It's a private teaching. And tomorrow afternoon, the teaching, one of the topics that will start at 2 o'clock CET Rome time. So that's a private classroom and you're all welcome to come and join us. We will explore new different levels. This was a suggestion from Jalal.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Carolina.
You're welcome. Thank you, team. Thank you, knowledge seekers. It was a wonderful session with a lot of sharing. And maybe we should see where we can open platform based on agriculture exclusively. And that's why I am involving you and Ursula to start this maybe with Dr. Gatwa to create time that people which are really into agriculture and more specific and more in depth. You shared 2 days with us all and a lot of knowledge, but I think you should have your own platform and we welcome you more than a teacher to guide a lot of new knowledge seekers or experienced knowledge seekers to come and sit on the same table in agriculture. And please create that platform. And thank you very much, all of you. See you next time.
Okay, thank you, Carolina. We'll have to try to get that clear on what's okay for agricultural, because it's been in the private teaching for the last couple of years. So we'll have to see what can go public and what's private and how to arrange that. All righty. Any other comments or announcements before we wrap up here? Okay, it's been a full workshop, I believe. Lots for everyone and lots of collaboration. Thank you everyone for your attendance today. This has been the 70th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, March 12th, 2019. Thank you, Flint, for taking us out and being a co-host today.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GANS formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.